Hello. We are currently live right now. I want to go ahead and thank you for tuning in to Collect Calls with Joe. I want to go ahead and wish all of our listeners and Joe, a happy New Year, and hopefully you guys have your New Year's resolutions lined up, and hopefully you're able to accomplish all those New Year's resolutions. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, and thank you for that. And Happy New Year's to you too, and everybody out there. And on a light note, I know we all make a resolution to lose weight, and we never do it. So you know, don't feel bad about it because it's going to stop in like 3 days into the workout.
Yeah, I know that's the truth right there. A lot of people, they set up those or they get memberships. I'm sure member gyms and whatnot. They're making a killing right now when it comes to fitness and whatnot. Because I'm pretty sure a very small percentage of people that set up these New Year resolutions for weight and signing up for new memberships actually follow through and keep up with that workout regimen because it's not easy. You gotta be very self disciplined when it comes to those type of activities.
Yeah, the commitment is hard, man. Especially when you got Twinkies and all these burritos and all this good steaks. Like, definitely hard. So be easy on yourselves, people.
You know what? And speaking of burritos, I know yesterday when we were on the live, your Sally he was making some I believe burritos and with some chiles and it was some very powerful chiles he was grilling back there. How do those burritos turn out?
They turned out great, but yeah, he smoked us out. Like we're not too. I don't know what it was, but he put it on the comal, and that thing was harsh. Maybe it's because it's a little stale. I don't know, but they were good. We ate about 7 burritos each in the last 2 days. So it's the holiday's been good to us.
Man, seven, man, we're almost neck and neck with all the tamales I've been eating since since Christmas. So I think I messed up like 3 or 4 yesterday, and then I another three
Yeah,
on Christmas on Christmas Eve.
yeah. Yeah, and we're looking at our face in the mirror, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, man, so you're starting to look fat. And he's like, yeah, you too. Like, and that's part of the New Year's resolution, calm down a little bit.
That's right. That's right. Did any
Yeah.
was anything did anything eventful happen over there on your side? Are there maybe any fireworks that you could see or anything like that, or is it just like a pretty much like a regular day in prison?
You know, when I was younger in prison, I used to look out the windows, and we have a small window in our prison cell, right? Like every cell pretty much has a small window, except with the exception of very few. And when I was like 19, 20, 21, 22, and all that, I used to always look out on New Year's. And I'll talk about my life at that era later, but just on the New Year's tip, I used to really look forward to that, man. And and in a negative way, we were drinking every chance we could get. New Year's was definitely in my early years in prison. I was always drinking. At least for the first 4 or 5 or 6. And with that came the cheer of the excitement of it. And yesterday, it was it feels good. I'm in a good place right now. Mentally, spiritually, I'm in a good place. But yesterday, my son's like, it don't even feel like New Year's, and I'm like, it don't. But it still feels good right now. So it didn't feel like New Year's last night, and I went to bed early. But it felt like New Year's this morning because it seemed like nobody was up and nobody was ready to walk to breakfast, and we didn't even walk to breakfast. They brought it in because the cops they're not running nothing right now. They need their little time to reset too.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Time to reset and work and whatnot. So I'm definitely not looking forward to going to work. I don't know if I have to go to work tomorrow. Hopefully I don't. I'm hoping that I have to return to work on Wednesday. So I'm mentally not prepared. To go back into the workforce. And you know how we were just talking about the gym. Eliasman actually just tapped in and he dropped a message. He says at the gym right now for reals, but I'm a gym rat and a YouTube rat. So and then he put pepper spray. Did the paint peel off the paint?
Tell him the paint peeled off on the inside of our noses, man. That thing was strong.
definitely appreciate El Iceman, tapping in. He's on these streams faithfully and whatnot. So definitely
Yeah.
recognize and really appreciate him tapping in and connecting with our guests that are currently coming onto the onto our podcast or show.
Yeah. And Iceman, you're my favorite 49er fan, man. I'll tell you that right now. We're connecting right here, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know yesterday, like the last three conversations we've had, you were giving us like you were going through your childhood, and then yesterday you were going through your experience in your first day in county jail, and definitely had me at the edge of the couch or the edge of the seat, with your first night, man. Definitely, man, it was a real nail biter, to say the least.
Yeah, it was something to remember, and I remember it all these years later. And as I'm telling these stories, there's a
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
as I'm running over the things in my life, there's a lot of stuff I forget. And as I said, to say it all it's just too much, So I'm trying to hit key points, right? And the key point I forgot about yesterday because I talked about going to juvenile hall and then going to the county, right? But in juvenile hall, I developed a friendship with somebody named Jimmy from Casablanca, and Jimmy had to cry me. And at this time, he would tell me that they were busted for carjacking. All these little kids that I'm with at this group, we're all facing life sentences. They're all very severe crimes. And I just remember Jimmy telling me that his crime is telling on him, and he could get out if that wasn't the case. And I had never I had never been in a situation where I knew one person was telling on another. And so when he told me his story, I felt obligated. Like, this is my friend, and if you're my friend, I'm loyal to you, and I know you're loyal to me, right? So I'm placing my friendships that I had on the streets that took years of time to develop and multiple grades, like my best friends. I'm putting that loyalty into this new guy that I just met named Jimmy. And we're only there a couple months. And I tell him, hey, Jimmy, I forgot to tell you, the guy that we're talking about, he was a juvenile too. But then 6 months prior, he went to the county jail. So I tell Jimmy, I'm going to turn 18 in so many months. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't remember if I said I'm going to fuck him up for you or I'm going to get him for you. I don't remember those details, right? But basically, I'm letting Jimmy know, like, I'm your friend, and what he's doing is wrong, and he's telling the cops on you, and I don't agree with that, and I'm going to do something about that, Jimmy, like if I was you. And I remember Jimmy looking at me and smiling, and his eyes are of joy and disbelief, and he's like, you would do that? And I'm like, of course I would, fool. Like I would think you would know I would do that. So with that said, I forgot to mention that because that's an important part. And then I go to the county, and I have my first day there, and the county life starts. And as I said before, I felt like I'm starting new here. I felt like all these people in the county don't know me. I felt like I had built up a name for myself, a reputation on the streets. And when everything happened, I had a huge sense like, I can't believe you guys tried to bully me out of everybody because I would think you would know what was going to happen, right? So now I'm in the county and I'm starting fresh, and I have this mentality, and nobody's installing this on me. Nobody's telling me like, you have to start over. But I just feel like I have to start over, right? So that first fight, it's like, it comes with some hype because they're saying it's the best fight they've seen in 2 years, blah, 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 this and that. And the fighting continues. And I can't remember all the fights because there is a lot of fights. But I will say this: it was so many fights that first fight gave me a black eye. That guy gave me a black eye. And I remember my mom coming to see me, and she's like, what happened? And I'm like, Mom, I got a black eye, And she's like, no shit. But what happened? Are you okay? Like, she's the mother. And I'm over here taking this black eye, like, Mom, you would be so proud of me. Like, this fool was bigger than me. Like, man, we were chunking them, and I didn't get beaten. You think this is bad? You should see the other guy.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And in my head, I'm like, this guy got rolled up, but I couldn't tell my mom that because she won't know what that means. And I'm telling my mom very little bit, but I'm like, be proud of me, Mom. I'm a man. Like, I'm a man. I got this. And another thing I want to say real quick about my mom too. Looking back, I could see the dysfunctionalness in my family, right? So when I'm at juvenile hall again, all the little kids get, we get visits in juvenile hall, and they're very limited. It's like your mother can come, and your sisters can't come. It's a lot of people that cannot come, even though they're your family, but your mom could. And every time at the end of visits in juvenile hall, my mom would she would stand up like all the moms do, and all the kids would hug their moms. Now, we didn't even tell each other I love you, and she loved me more than anything, but verbally, we didn't say that to each other. So when it's time to leave, I will stand up and I will feel awkward because all these kids are hugging their moms. And I would look at my mom and I would just give her a head nod, like, all right, I'll see you next time, And she'll be like, okay, and she'll walk out. But we would never hug. And that's sad. We would never hug because at that time I thought it was too hard, And she knew that way before I go to juvenile hall. She knew don't embarrass my kid, And so she won't hug me, out of love because she knows that's going to embarrass me and whatnot. So anyways, fast forwarding, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Fast forwarding back to the county jail. That black eye gets done that early on. I have a black eye for a year, to the audience listening. Every time I got in a fight after that, for some reason that black eye will barely be healing, and it'll get tagged again. Bloop. And it'll just turn yellow, turn purple yellow, and it'll go back to black. And this black eye was with me for so long. I remember it was with me for months.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I'm in my head, I'm like, dang, I cannot shake it. And then everyone's because they already see it. So when you get in the next fight, somehow, some way, their little fist lands on that again. And I'm not saying I'm getting beat up, but that black eye does not go, right? And when I call back right now, I'm going to start sharing stories that started helping shape even more of a criminal aspect in me than what was already there. Because I'm starting fresh, I'm starting new, and now I feel like I'm building a new reputation, a new me that people are going to know.
All right, I thank you. And then we got Eastwood in here, so I'll go ahead and read off his comments as soon as you come back in.
Okay.
All right, so the 15 minutes were about to be up, and he pulled the plug a little bit early, and then we'll go ahead and continue with his journey. Leaving off at the county jail, the Riverside. I think it's called the old Riverside County Jail, which is located in downtown Riverside. And from the comments that I read from the previous videos and whatnot, it seems like that place was brutal. And from what he was saying also with the sheriffs and the other 2 white inmates.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
Un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and read off Jerry Eastwood's first message, and he writes, "My best thoughts of Centinela were at chow time, walking to chow hall spring time, and the Air Force base, like right there, and then the F-14 Tomcats, F-15s would zoom directly over the prison yards."
Yeah, absolutely, and that is a great thing about being here. Like, you come to this prison, and the Army jets are flying past you, and you see them, and the helicopter jets, and you never see those kind of planes or helicopters in no other prison. Planes are restricted from flying over prisons, obviously, for like escape reasons, or like a helicopter dropping a ladder or some movie stuff. That never happens. But this is the Army base, so that probably supersedes everything. Like, we're government full, But to Eastwood, he left messages or comments yesterday, and I didn't get to read them till I read some prior, but I read some after, right? And he mentions one of his buddies named Squid, right? And he thinks I know him from Tehachapi. I don't, but what I will say is I know Squid from the county jail. I met Squid in the county, and keep in mind I'm turning 18 in the county. So a little frame I have, a little body, I'm trying to get bigger, I'm trying to get buffer, right? Because all these fights, like, it goes hand in hand to me. Like, I need to get bigger because I'm light in the ass. Like, you could just pick me up and slam me. Like, you could WWF me, and who knows what that damage will do, right? So when I meet Squid, Squid has weight on him already. This is the man when I meet him. He's thick. I look at him like this is the big dude, And I briefly meet him in the county. But as I journey up to prison, I run into him again. and I run into this man. I believe I was in Salinas Valley State Prison on Sea Yard when I run into Squid. Now, I could be mistaken in that for New Delano, but I'm almost certain in one of these two prisons I am with Squid again. And then we are friends right there, And at this time, I am, I'm a criminal thinker, and so is everybody else on the line, But me and Squid are friends. Anyways, real quick for the guys that have never been to prison and are living out there, this is the only story I know, and I'm going to say it briefly. Squid was in the county jail, and he ended up swallowing, I don't know if it was a life sentence or 20 years plus, because somebody heard some things that he was saying in the county jail, and the detectives picked up a case on him. And because of that cellmate or that bunkie he had, he ended up taking all this time. So, that story really happened. And that's like some Dateline stuff where I don't know if he was a planet informant in the county. I don't know what he was. I don't know if he was a dude trying to get out, but at the end of the day, Squid is the only person I know to get time.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
To get a lot of time, decades of time in prison for something he was saying in the county jail. And yeah, I know him, Eastwood. I know him. So back to the county jail, when I'm going in there, I feel like I have to make a new reputation, a new this, a new that. And I don't know how to do that. And the guy from Elsinore is talking about these YA politics and tough this and tough that, and you drop level, and I'm saying, let's run that. Let's do that right here. So we might not be doing it all, but we're doing some of it. And somehow, some way, my mind tells me that lifers are superior in prison, in jail, right? So somehow, some way, I developed this attitude, and it happened because You know, in prison, you let a guy borrow a bag of chips or a Snicker or M&Ms or whatnot, something to eat because he's hungry, and you buy it with money, purchase it, right? So somebody paroled owing a gentleman Snicker bar or something simple like that, right? I can't remember the product, but it was something like that. So at this moment in time, I take it upon myself to say, hey, you're a lifer. That shouldn't have happened. And he's like, well, it's only this, and yeah, I'm mad. And he's talking, and I sit on it for like a week, and I come back with it, and I'm like, you know what? Let's have a meeting, guys. If you're a lifer, nobody is going to jack you because you're a lifer and I'm a lifer. So if they do that to you, they're making me look bad. This is the thoughts that I'm having without even realizing I'm having them back then, because they can. In my mind, I'm like, you can't one up me. So if I'm playing for this team, then this team's not going to get disrespected, right? I'm bringing this gang mentality into this county jail that wasn't previously there. Like, there was no rule saying no one can jack a lifer. I'm the one that's actually making this a rule and an enforcement. And that's digging me deeper into a criminality mindset. I'm already there. I already killed somebody, and I'm going further into it, you know? And this is not taught. This is me actually teaching others. And the first guy that's going to parole is a black guy, and he's a buff black guy. You know, he's not no skinny dude. And he comes from court, and he's so happy. And he's like, I'm going to go home next Wednesday, da-da-da-da-da. And it just clicks to me. Hey, you owe Maury a Snicker, you know? And I'm like, don't you owe this guy a Snicker? And he's like, yeah. And I had just gave this speech like a month ago. So now it's test time. Now it's like, do I really do it? Like, and everyone's asleep. It's in the morning. I tell this guy, hey, you're going to go buy him his Snicker before you go home, because you could still get Friday store, or you could still get Monday store. And he's like, no, I'm going to pay him when I get out. When I get out, I'm just going to leave some money on his books. This doesn't make sense to me. And I'm younger, and I'm smaller than this individual. He's about 25 at the time, a healthy 25. And I'm probably 18, puny 18. And I'm like, you know what? That don't even matter. So in the old jail, this is how canteen works. This is how you buy store. They have a big envelope. You put what you want on it, and they have, like, it's already there, Snickers. So you just put 2. Hot Cheetos, you'll put 3 or 4. You know, you they already have the print, and you just fill in the number. And you lick it like an envelope, and you put your ID in it and seal it and put it by the bars, and the cops take it. And, like, every 2 days, they bring the food, and they give you your ID back so you can shop again. So I go to the bars, and I grab an empty one. And I'm like, what's your ID? What's your name? And I'm grabbing his ID, and he's on the table, and he's looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm filling his name out on the envelope, and I'm scribbling it in there, and I'm putting his number in there, and I'm putting 1 Snicker. And I go, boom, look it, that's homeboy Snicker. That's a Snicker you're gonna buy. And this individual is asleep at this time. So when I do that, there's a little black guy, like, right next to me, and he's asleep on his bunk. He's probably like 19, 20 years old. And he goes, hey, Muhammad, put my bag of Doritos on there too. Now, this fool was in sleep, but he was laying in bed, but he's up, right? So I'm like, oh, he'll use your bag of Doritos? He's like, yeah. I'm like, boom, 1 bag of Doritos for his. And so I'm ready to take this to the bars and put it up. And I put his ID in there, and I lick it shut, like this shit's happening, you know? And then there's another black guy. This fool's old school. He's so cool. He's buff too. He's about 40 years old. You could tell he's been in prison probably 3 times. He got class. He got style to him. And he turns around, and his name's Rambo. He turns around, and he says, hey, man, put my whatever he owes him. He owes him something too. And I'm like, he owes you that, Rambo? And I mark it. Boom. And I'm like, there it is. So I put this envelope on the bars, and now they're going to take it. And before he goes home Wednesday, they'll bring his store Monday. So everybody will get what they want. And I go on the bunk, and I lay down, and I'm like, oh, it's done, you know? And I was feeling pressure, and my heartbeat was pounding when I'm doing that, right? But it's done. Well, Muhammad, you know, the one that owes everybody, he can't handle it. And I'm forgetting a very important part. When Rambo tried to give that guy advice, and that guy Muhammad turned at Rambo and he goes, you know what, old man, this don't concern you. Just turn around and mind your own business. He told him like that, like rudely. And Rambo grabbed the blankets and he just, he turned around, started facing the wall. So then, I'm in my bunk and I'm laying down, and I guess this is eating at Muhammad. It's eating at him what just happened. And he's playing dominoes, and he's slapping dominoes hard, and he's playing with a Samoan, and the dominoes are getting harder, and he's talking shit. He's like, man, ain't nobody gonna do that to me. Da 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 da. Only 'cause I want to get that. That's the only reason it's happening. So he's like, in the criminal mindset, he's pumping himself up, and he's slapping them dominoes so hard that now he wakes up more. The original dude he owes that he doesn't even know this just happened. So Maury, he looks up, and he's a heavyset 19-year-old kid. He looks up at me, and he's like, hey, what's going on? And he tells them, hey, can you please be a little quieter with that? Like, people are sleeping, you guys woke me up. And they're like, yeah, okay, boom. And Maury looks up at me, and I point to Maury, and I'm like, you. And I put my hands like socked in the air, and I'm like, you. I'm socked in the air, and I point to him. I'm pointing to Muhammad. And he's like, me? He points like, me? And this fool's just waking up. And I'm like, yeah, fool, you. And at the same time, I'm grabbing soaps, and I'm putting them in my sock. And I'm reinforcing my sock with another sock, right? Because it's a no-brainer. Muhammad will whip my ass if this turns into a hand fight against a hand fight. Like, this fool could just throw me across the thing like nothing. So I am making myself a weapon out of soaps and socks, like a flying hammer, so to speak. And my buddy from Elsinore, he's telling me to chill in like sign language, like he's pointing, and we're not talking, but we're talking with our hands and gestures, like, relax, fool. And I'm letting him know, like, no, I'm going, like, this is gonna go. I could see it forming already. And he's like, oh. And I'm thinking in my head, you have never let me down. How are you acting like this with me right now? Because I can't even, he's never resisted me at all. So then he starts getting his little soaps and socks, and, I get content, like, oh, that's right, that's the homie, boom. And Maury's looking up, waiting for me to give him a signal. And that guy slapping dominoes, talking hella shit. Like, his verbalization got stronger and louder and quicker. And
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
he is ready to just whip on anybody. Now, I want the audience to know you cannot touch another race in jail or prison. This is like an automatic riot, That's why we handle our own. They handle their own. That's why all this. But this is the county jail, and I'm new to it, and I'm thinking I'm gung ho, and I'm thinking I'm all that and some. So I tell Maury, go. And Maury, as soon as he sits up and stands up, he's that close to the guy, and he's behind him. When he sits up and stands up, he's behind him. So now all he has to do is fling his right arm, left arm, and he's going, and the guy's facing the other way. So Maury's basically has the back of his head to his stomach when he's drilling on him, right? And when he does that, the Samoan stands up and walks away, and I fly across the table, and my little buddy from Elsinore flies, and my little buddy from Elsinore is like a right-hander, but he's having to sock with his left hand because of where his placement was at the time when he slid across. And I'm like, move your hands, and I'll come in with a soap, boom, and we were just going to town on this poor dude, that we victimized that day, because I wanted to display like you don't steal from a lifer, and I'm a lifer. So
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I'm not going to let you do that to another lifer. So long story short, we had minutes with Muhammad, and he was a big boy, and I just remember screaming, don't let him up, because he was trying to get up, and I just kept pounding that soap, and my buddy from Elsinore is pounding the soap, and Maury's kicking them, and it's a 3-on-1. Normally, this would never have happened because a riot would have erupted. But because of the circumstances, because individuals in the tank, it kind of played out like a 3-on-1. And the cop was bringing Sonny back, and you guys already know the story of Sonny. So he's coming back from a visit, and when he comes back, I just happened to lift up a bunk and put the sock and soap under the bunk and put the bunk back down, and I jump on the phone. Now, if the cop's smart, he knows the phone ain't on at this time. But
All right, so 15 minutes were up, and he should be calling us back shortly, and he'll go ahead and continue with his journey in the county jail. Eventually, landing in California Department of Corrections. At that time, it didn't have the R, and if you this is the first time you're tuning in, you definitely want to catch up and listen to the previous other 3 chapters or parts. The one from yesterday is definitely interesting. Really had me on the edge of my chair over here. And these calls are live, so if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them in the chat.
Esta
This
es
call is now
Global
being
Telling.
recorded.
Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello?
Yep, we're on.
Yeah. Okay, so that's happening, and I'm trying to get away with it now. And I jump on the phone, and I'm like, hey, baby, da-da-da-da. And the cop walks by, and Muhammad is still on the floor trying to get up. He's, like, dazed. He's confused. And he's screaming, I can't hear. But he's screaming loud. He's like, I can't hear. And the cop looks in, and he sees, instantly something's wrong right here. So the cop's like, hey. He starts screaming at him, get up. Come here, get up. And Sonny's coming in, and Sonny's looking at us like, what the F did you guys just do right now, And he knows we're guilty as charged. Like, Sonny's a criminal. He knows he's looking at me. He's looking at he's like, yeah, I could see what happened. Now I just need to figure out what happened. And he comes in, and I put the phone down, and now I'm walking, and Muhammad's going out to the cop with, like, one chancla on and one chancla's off, And when I'm passing him, I'm like, this fool's going to knock my head off right now, because that's just what I pictured. Like, he has big arms. He got muscle, man. This dude's made of muscle. And he don't. And I'm like, I try to walk faster, but I'm trying to walk slow at the same time to show everybody, like, I'm not scared, or like that thought just didn't happen in my mind. And anyways, I passed him, and he passes me, and Sonny comes in, and the cop takes him. Because clearly the cop could see he's the victim. And in this jail, in this old jail that was at the time, the guy that got beat up is the guy they take. They really don't even look for answers, They're just like, okay, well, he couldn't get along in that tank, and they take him. Now the aftermath is we're in tank 1. There's a tank 2 and a tank 3. Now, in tank 1, like...
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
In tank 1, most of the fighting, most of the funk, most of the incidents are Mexican related. Now, in tank 2, most of that goes to, like, the black guys. So what I'm saying is the blacks they run tank 2, while the homies run tank 1. But we're all mixed up with each other at the same time. So the blacks in tank 2, they're hella rowdy. So all the blacks in our tank go to the bars because the blacks in tank 2 want them to kick off a riot. Like, how did you guys let so and so do that to Muhammad? And at this time, now everybody's up, and all the Mexicans come to us, and now all the homies are getting ready because they know it's going to be a riot. So, respectively, both sides are getting ready for this. And there's a guy from 1200 block, OG, been to prison, in and out his whole life. I used to look at him with respect. Like, this is the black dude in the tank 2 he's the main one, LD. And he's like, you guys better get off on them fools. Like, that's it. And I remember I love, because as a little kid, you don't know how to break things down, and you don't know how to express things, and you don't know how to talk, because every other word is an F-bomb, you know? But when LD's talking, keep in mind Rambo was there, and he's OG, and he's the G. Like, there's no mistaking about it. You know, this is like his third time busted, bank robbery. It's like, this is as violent as it gets, you know? And I remember we're all quiet, just listening and waiting for them to get the order or commit to the violence that's going to happen. And I can remember Rambo put it so good. He's like, look, man, these two little Mexicans right here, that brother owed their homeboy, and all they were doing was trying to get their money back. And when he's doing that, I'm awake the whole time. I'm hearing the whole thing. The little brother right there, he owed him too. So he's running him down the story exactly how it happened. And he's telling him, you know, I try to give Muhammad some advice because I can already foresee where this is going. And I'm like, just pay your bills. And he turned to me and he said, check this out, old man. This ain't none of your business. Just turn around and mind your own business. Stay out of my shit. So Rambo says all that exactly how he said it at the time. I can't even remember how he said it at the time, but he said something very similar to that. And Rambo told him, that's exactly what I did, knowing exactly what was going to come. And now that you're telling us to do this about it, we ain't doing nothing anyway, because that guy brought it upon himself. So this is one of the rare few stories that exist in California history, incarcerated, where a riot don't happen off of something like this, you know? And at the time, I didn't even, I'm impulsive at the time, so I'm not even thinking of the decision I'm making. I'm not even thinking of the effects, like both sides will get hurt. I'm not thinking none of that. I just snap of a finger did it, all to kind of protect what I view should be held at a higher standard. Is if we're getting life in prison, you can't jack us. You know, I'm trying to articulate that in a physical way, so you guys know it. So nobody does it. Nobody tries to do it. Nobody tries to play a lifer. And that was dysfunctional thinking, and that was a whole lot going on wrong right there. But at the time, I don't even know I'm doing it. I just know I'm writing for what I believe in, because of my thoughts, because of my upbringing, and because, most importantly, for me, I was putting all this pressure on myself because I wanted to uphold this false image of I'm this tough guy, and there's no way anybody alive is going to hurt it, or you're going to have to kill me, you know? And that's just one brief story I can remember of the why, like why I did it, and it was to put a shield around all lifers.
Let me ask you. So earlier on your journey, you had mentioned Jimmy from juvenile hall, and you had I'm not sure to call it a promise, or you vowed to take
a commitment.
a commitment. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever run into his crimey, the one that was telling on him?
Yes, I did. I run into him in the future, but I don't want to get into it too quick because in real time, looking back, I don't think that happened yet. I think this lifer thing was like one of the first things I did when I got to the county jail, and it's just showing how stupid I was, really. Like when I tell the story, I just look back and think how stupid I was, you know, because usually people are taught, like, hey, you got to do this, hey, you got to do that. Usually there's like a guiding force behind it, and you want to be accepted, and you just following your OG homies, right? And here's the case where none of that happened. There was no one older telling me to do this. In fact, when me and TC from Alcinor started like pumping up the tank, like we're gonna start playing more rougher now, right? They actually try to stop that. And when we make the pact, like if any of your enemies come, we're getting off. If any of my enemies come, we're getting off. They did in fact step in and say, you two little fools are full of shit. You are not doing that. This is not what we do. You're going to get hurt. I'm telling you, and me and him just looked at each other and we were like, bring it. Like, whoever gets in our way, it's going to get smacked out. And that was our stance. And I kind of think, because nobody beat us up for it, I kind of think they kind of knew that these two are a little force right here. So, you know what, I'll just kick back and I'll watch them wreck in the future on their own. Because that's like the...
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
That's like the logical way to think in prison. Like, if you don't want to get involved, well, just kick back, because that guy thinks he's a tough guy, and guess what? In this world, there's always a tougher guy. There's always someone to put you in your place, you know? So I think they just looked at it more like that, because they didn't want to physically do it.
And let me ask you, I have two questions. The first one would be, nobody ever pushed the issue, saying that like, why were you doing all of this if you didn't belong to a neighborhood? And my second question would be, man, and then
yeah.
I mean, that would have been my first.
Crazy, huh?
That would have been my first thought. Like, if you're in county and you're pushing all of this. My first thought would have been like, man, like, this fool don't even gangbang, and he's doing all of this. But and then
yeah, exactly. And I'm just going diving into it. I'm like all about it, right?
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, where somebody didn't gangbang or didn't represent a neighborhood, and they were pushing that type of hard line. So that would have been definitely an interesting situation. And then my second question would have been, did any of this follow you back? When you finally ended up going to prison, did anybody ever? Because I already know, like, people are already talking about it. They get to certain places and then they start running their mouth and being comadres and stuff, and people know about you.
Absolutely.
Way before you land there, and they're already expecting you.
Okay, so this is the two-part question, right?
Yeah.
Nobody ever questioned it, and I'm wearing the city on my back. Like when you in California, when you go to jail, you got a first and last name, but it's not your government name. Like, your first name's your nickname, and your last name is the hood you're from, right? Or like people from Orange County, they'll be like so and so Santana. And only if you're from Santana do you dig deeper and like, well, what neighborhood are you from? But if you're not, it kind of goes, okay, that's homeboy from Santana, right? So when I'm in the county, I'm saying, my little nickname, and then I'm putting the city behind my back. So I should have said this first, because this name that I'm building, I feel like I'm building it over again, right? And that's exactly what I'm doing. Now I'm putting the city on my back, and I think I'm honoring all my city mates. I think if you represent that, that's cool. But this is what we're about, And pretty much nobody is questioning it, and maybe they think I am from a neighborhood in the city because of the way I'm carrying myself, because of the way I'm you can't say my first name without my last name, right? And it did follow me to prison, but not in a negative way. I have like 2 years or like a year and a half in the county, right? And this don't stop. It just keeps going. So when I go to the county, when I go to prison, like, there is some people that know me. And instead of, like, in a negative way, they're like, oh, that's the homie. Oh, that's a fool right there. Like, that fool. And I'm going to rewind a little bit. Because before I go to leave the county, when it's time for me to leave the county, and I'm going to get sentenced and I'm going to get life, right? I lose my third trial. There is so many older homies that really fell in love with me, that really, really love me, And they're all telling me, they're scolding me like a dad now. They're like, check this out, fool. You can't run around prison like you run around right here. You better knock that shit off, and da-da-da-da. And everyone's giving me the spiel. And they're probably talking to each other about me to talk to me, right? It's like one of those situations. And I feel it, and I get it. And part of me is scared, because I'm like, well, what are them fools all talking about? Like, man, I made it here. You make it in the county, you make it anywhere. Remember that saying? So I'm like, man, I'm good. And they're explaining to me like how YA babies die in prison. And I'm like, but I never been to YA. And they're like, well, your actions, the way you move in here, fool, you're gonna get in a wreck in prison because you can't do stuff like that no more. You gotta wait and ask for permission. Everything comes down from somewhere. Things don't happen like this in the prison system. So they give me this heedful warning, and it's there for probably like a month before I leave. And I'm finally telling people, I got it, fool, I got it. Like, relax, I won't do nothing. I'll sit and wait and look.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
So I did get warnings about how to enter prison, and I did get warnings about the shit you're doing right here. Don't think you could do that up there, right? And we're gonna talk more about that because we're just gonna talk more about that when I get to prison, But I'll call back right now, and we'll continue along.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we are gonna be taking calls, towards the end of the stream. I'll go ahead and if anybody's interested in calling in, I'll go ahead and post a number up, and you could go ahead and interact with Joe if you do wish so. And you also have the option of either putting any comments in the chat or any questions, and I'll go ahead and read them off. As we have these breaks in between phone calls. I'm hoping. I was speaking with Javier, and he mentioned that they might be doing away with the 15-minute limit, and that would be awesome if that happens sooner than later.
This
call is now being recorded.
Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, was there any other questions?
Nah. But I did make an announcement letting them
Okay.
know, they do have that option of asking questions in the chat, and towards the end, maybe 2 calls before we end the stream, or 1 call, we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and post up the phone number, and if they want to call in and interact like that, they do have that option.
Okay, cool. And that was something I did that was adding layers into this criminality. Because keep in mind, just like James said, I'm not from a gang. I don't have no obligations. Like what are you doing, dude? And me, I'm just going deeper and deeper because I'm getting life. And for the most part, when you go to the county, there is none but gang members, So if the stream is going one way, it's kind of taking me. And not only is it taking me, but I'm trying to swim faster and stronger at the same time. And another story to add to that, and this goes back to my crime. This goes back to me on the streets. This goes back to me, like, the flaws in me, right? I always felt like I'm the toughest one here. Like, I was naive. There's way tougher people. There's way stronger people, way sicker people, right? But in my mind, at least, you should know who I am, right? So I want to say that because there's one time where it was Saturday, and in county jail and in prison and stuff like that, it's kind of like universal. Like in prison, it gets stretched out, but in the county jail, it's real simple: black, white, Mexican, right? So, TVs. You have one TV in the dorm, or the phones, right? Same thing with the phones. A black uses it, a white uses it, a Mexican uses it, et cetera, in any given order, right? Well, with the TVs, you'll cut the time up. So there's 24 hours in a day, So there's 12 hours in the daytime, right? So let's cut that down to 4. So blacks use it for 4 hours. Once the 4 hours is up, the next 4 hours is the whites, and the next 4 hours is the Mexicans. And to offset the blacks from always using it in the morning and never getting no nighttime, we'll rotate as the days go. Like Monday it starts with blacks, well then Tuesday it starts with whites, then Wednesday it starts with Mexicans. That way we're trying to make it as fair as possible, so that there's no conflict over the TV. That is why these kind of rules get established in the first place, because you're trying to reduce violence with races, with people. If we don't have to go there, somebody a long time ago in the 50s or 60s or whenever jail started getting made, they came out to these conclusions that let's share everything. It's only right, right? And I agree with that. It's only right. So this is a Saturday, and it's the wood pile. We used to call them all white people. We used to call them woods, and it's their TV time, and it's probably like 11 o'clock. Now this is in the 90s, man. So there's Soul Train's on at 11 o'clock, you know. Soul Train is all over the world, right? And the blacks are like, hey man, change that shit. Like put Soul Train on. And the woods are like, huh? And they're like, yeah, man, change that. So they start, like, not an argument, but it becomes a debate for sure. And the blacks win the debate. They're like, every Saturday, everybody knows that Soul Train hour. Like, I don't care what race you are, what this, what that. That's Soul Train. So now, prior to that, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, when it's our time, you never told us to put Soul Train on. And matter of fact, if you would have told us.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
If you would have told us, we would have said no, just to be defiant, just to be like, you're not the boss of me type thing, right? So the woods cave in, and they give them the whole hour. So now they got 3 hours. Now the blacks have 5 hours. This is what I'm rationalizing in my mind. So as the day goes on, that don't sit well with me, man. That does not sit well with me. And there is no other homie in the tank that is thinking like I'm thinking. So then I tell my buddy from Elsinore again. I tell him, hey, man, the woods got punked for that hour. And he's like, I know, crazy, huh? And I'm like, I'm taking their time. And he looks at me, he's like, fool, what are you talking about? And I'm like, look at this paper. And I already drew the paper up. And the paper, instead of having whites, black, white, Mexican, now it has black Mexican. So instead of writing the whole word black, we'll just put a B. And instead of writing Mexican, we'll just put an M, right? So now this whole paper for the next week is BM, 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 switching off the days. BM, 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 and switching off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, BM, BM. I make this whole paper up. And I show the homie. And he's like, all right, what we're going to do then? And he's all in. He's no dispute, no nothing. He's 100% joined at the hip with me. I'm like, look, fool, we'll let everyone go to sleep tomorrow at 8. Well, because usually everyone's always asleep, right? So at 8 in the morning, they've been up all night, playing cards all night, playing dominoes all night, you know, whatever else they're doing at night, right? So 8 in the morning, everybody should be asleep. And I'm like, look, we're going to go to this white boy. And he's a big white boy, man. He's like 6'4", 6'2". He's a heavy set white boy. But he's not really like he's not a biker, or he's not a roughneck white boy. He's like honestly, he could be just a regular household white man that went to jail. But he is the biggest one in the tank, so that's why we target him. And the next day comes, and it's 8 in the morning. And me and my buddy from Elsinore, we put the soaps in the socks. We're ready to rock. We got backup soaps in the socks because this guy's a big one. So if the soap breaks, after you hit somebody with a soap for so long, it'll start breaking on you. And so we got backups on backups. And I remember going, and I'm like, you ready? Ready. And before you do something like this, like, your heart's pounding. You're not just doing it, and it seems like normal to you, and you're the tough guy doing it. I'm portraying to be tough, yes. But inside, my heart's pounding, and inside I'm like, well, if this don't go the way you go, you're going to get your ass kicked right now, you know? So there's fear in there. It's what I'm trying to say. And I go tap this guy's shoulder, and he sleeps. And I'm like, And I start hitting the bunk hard. Boom, boom. And he's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, hey, fool, you remember yesterday, Soul Train Hour? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you let the blacks get your Soul Train Hour? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you got punked for that time, fool. Check this out. If they're punking you, we're punking you too. Matter of fact, you ain't even got no time. That's our time. We're splitting it up with the blacks. And all the blacks are asleep, and all the Mexicans are asleep. We don't even inform. This is a big no-no, too, in the future, right? So I could hear someone grabbing their hair and pointing it out of their heads. You never do something stupid like this without telling your race, because it right could happen. But we're so stupid, and we're little, and we're doing it. So we're telling this white boy, you got no time, basically. And I'm telling him, hey, is that a problem? Are we going to have a problem with that? Because if so, get up right now, and we'll deal with that problem. And me and the little homie's right next door to me, and he got a mad face on, and he's not saying nothing, but he's ready to swing his little sock. And the guy's like, nah. And I go, so it's all good. You got no time, just so you're clear. He's like, yeah. And there's another white boy under him, and he says, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, shut up, fool, and go back to sleep. And he sees the face, and he's like, okay, whoop, turns over and goes to sleep. And then we take off the old paper on the wall, and we put the new paper on the wall. And when we put it, we're just waiting, like we're waiting for drama to happen over this. So the socks, they stay with us. We're just on the bunk, and we're all pumped up still, and we're like, as soon as these woods wake up, it's going to be on, because they're not going to take it lightly. But we did pump the biggest one, so we're going to use that to our advantage when we start talking. Everyone sees the thing, and the blacks are like, whoa, what's going on here? Whoa, whoa. And the homies are like, what's going on here? So we just start like pointing hand gestures to the homies, like, Riley, come here, fool. And we're telling them, like, hey, these fools got jacked yesterday for Soul Train. We just cut them out of the equation. Now it's 6 hours us and 6 hours blacks. 6 hours black, 6 hours us. That's the rotation's going to be. And the whole reason I tell this story is because I'm so stupid and my insecurities are so flawed that I couldn't stand to see the blacks take that hour, because I felt like they one-upped the whole Mexicans in the tank. And I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, we need to gain that respect back. We need to put ourselves in a position where we're at least equal with you guys. Like, you guys ain't going to do nothing more than us. And really, that's I'm not even caring about us. I'm doing it only because I am myself Mexican. It's like a me issue. But I'm involving this whole race with me and saying, well, I'm one of them, so this is my side. So my side's not going to get taken advantage of. And that's
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
That's the justification that was going on in my mind. Like, we're not going to get punked. And even though you didn't punk us directly, we're down an hour. It's just a warped sense of belief, and the way I was viewing things was not contrasted like society's measures, you know. And I was digging in.
Man, I'm definitely tripping out on that, because I mean, the last time I hit county was, man, over 20 something years ago. When I was I started hitting county when I was 18. The last time I went to county was when I was 21, and I ended up leaving county when I was 22. But man, that would have definitely raised a lot of alarms in my
kicked off a riot. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I look back, James, and I'm like, how lucky was I? First of all, how lucky was I to be in Riverside? Because I would have had the same mentality if I landed in LA. And I know the politics would have been a lot like, check this motherfucker. Take him to the back, he's getting 39 because this fool don't know how to act. I understand that and I see that. But at the same time, this is my life and it's how it played out. So I don't want to lie to the viewers. I don't want to leave nothing out. And this was a key moment because I'm digging in on criminal activity. But at the end of the day, it's me. Like, I was the problem. It wasn't the homies in the tank. I was stringing them along for the ride. It was 100% me, and I couldn't even see it. I thought I was perfect. I thought I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and that was far from the case, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, I definitely see that. After story after story or journey after journey, you're definitely painting a clear picture of where your mindset was at, and why was it the reason that you were doing these actions or things. Um, you definitely are painting a clear picture now.
You know, you would think you know most for the viewers and the audience, like most people in my position, they would have came to jail and after committing such an ugly crime, it's the same thing, same person in my position, they would have came to jail and they would have been a lot better than me, you know? And I was digging myself deeper and deeper, and nobody had a hand in it. Like, there was nobody, it's kind of different when you got an older person telling you, hey, little homie, go do that. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go do that. Because he's your elder. He's somebody you probably look up to. With me, I didn't even have that, but I had a driving force in me. Now, at this time, they said I was going to, I kind of knew I was going to die in prison, right? So I know there's nothing I could be. I know I failed my mom as a son. Like I might not be ready to face this stuff yet, but I know it. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be nothing, because my ambition is too big. My and right.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
You're gonna have no dreams because you're gonna get life in prison, right? But my ambition is too big. So if you're saying that I'm going to die in prison, then I'm saying I'm still going to win, because I'm going to be the best criminal I could be. I'm going to be the best badass, Billy Badass I could be. And that was my only substitute for success. Now, was that the reality? No. I could have tried to go to education-wise. But at this time, I didn't see none of that. I thought being a better criminal was the only success. Was my only way up. I'll call back right now.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right now, and then when he calls back, I'll go ahead and read off Liceman's comment. And man, good thing there was a bunch of scary Larrys in that unit, because if it would have been somewhere else, it definitely would have played out way different. I know a lot of those dorms, at least in LA County Jail, they were definitely they weren't a joke. A lot of times, people would come in and they would try to change things up, and the only thing that changed was them getting removed from the dorms or from those units.
This call is now being
Global
recorded.
Tellink. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tellink.
Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Hey, so
Yeah.
while you were talking, we got a comment from El Iceman, and he puts Joe got a lot of heart, exclamation, and then he puts for a Cowboy fan.
I needed that laugh right now, because the stuff I just shared right now, I never spoke that. Like, have I told the story before? Yeah. Have I ever told the story with why? Never. And it's heavy, It feels heavy on me right now. So I thank Iceman for that sarcastic joke he said right now, because cowboys are tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You know what? And luckily, everything that happened was in your favor, and And good thing, there was a bunch of scary Larrys in there that didn't
Yeah.
decide to take any action, because it would have been somewhere else, with some real seasoned veterans or some
Yeah.
sharks. It would definitely could have
Yeah.
definitely been a easy
Yeah.
bad situation.
Could have been deadly. Could
Yep.
have been deadly for me. And I had some haters. Like one was from Alcinor too, and he was the brother-in-law of my buddy. So he used to be a hater, and we became friends after a while. But another thing I should say is Maury, the guy with the snicker that was gonna get jacked. There's a backstory to us, and water real quick. There is a backstory to us. Like Maury was gonna so he said. So he said he was going to kill me on the streets for something I had did. Remember those houses I told you about a long time ago, the 4 houses? So one of them belonged to a girl, and in the future, Maury will have 2 babies with this girl. And in the future, he will find out that, I robbed her house when we were like little kids, like 12 or whatever, right? And he had made a comment, and only through the girls, I found out the comment he made, So when I come to the county jail, I never seen Maury before in my life. Well, there was a backstory because Maury was a hater to me all the time in the county jail too. But, I mean, we had, without going into it, we had beef on the streets too. And then when I got to the jail, I like introduced myself and like, hey, this is me. And we almost got into it. But the homies were like, calm that down, woo, this and that. So I did have those two, I almost call them the little bastards right now, but I did have those 2 little gentlemen that were always opposing me, and it just worked in my favor. Like, through this whole journey when I could have got hurt, God, He didn't let it happen. And I'm talking about the county jail, and I can't believe I haven't told you guys about like a God story yet. I mentioned that I never had a first communion. I never had anything baptized. I've been baptized now at 40 years old, but I was never baptized as a kid. And my mother never took me to church. Like, I just didn't grow up like that, I knew Jesus was God's son, and that was about it. The closest person to bring me to God when I was on the streets was Tupac, because I would listen to all this music, and every now and then Tupac would throw a God verse in there, Lord knows, or only God could judge me. That's as far as I knew God. So when I come to juvenile hall, we would write letters every now and then, like once a week or something. And I did not know how to write. I did not know how to read. I had a very low writing and reading average, right? Probably like 2nd grade, to be completely honest with you guys. And right here, I'm 17 years old. So they give out little Bibles, and I'm like, you're going to leave this juvenile hall. You're not going to be here forever, and you need to write your mom. Because I didn't picture phones. In my little mind, there was no phone calls in prison. It was just through a letter. So I started telling myself, I need to write. I need to learn how to read and write. So I'll get this little palm-sized Bible, the New Testament, and I'll start trying to read. And little by little, I'll pick up a word here and there, but it was very slow, And when I go to the county jail now I'm like, I'm going to church. Like they have a church you could go to, and I'm probably not going all the time, but I do know I have been to church in the county jail, right? I do know I've stepped foot in church in the county jail. And I'm like, I have never read the Bible. I've never done it. But I'm like, you know what, God, I pray one time. And I'm like, this is probably like the 2nd prayer after praying after I had committed the crime. So it's probably like the 2nd prayer in my life. And I'm like, you know what, God? I know in this Bible it has to say, don't tempt you. I know it has to say that somewhere. But I'm still going to tempt you because I don't know if you're real. And I need to know you're real. So that day, I prayed that specific prayer that day because we were having cold water in the showers. And when we were having cold water, everybody's like, oh, I I'll take a shower later, and every 4 hours they do the unlocks, right? So it's 4 hours our tank, 4 hours tank 2, 4 hours our tank, 4 hours tank 2, seesaw. So when our things open up, I do that prayer. I'm like, God, if you're real, and I know it's wrong to tempt you, but if you're real, I need to see it. I need to know it today, you know? Give me a warm shower. It could be lukewarm. It could be whatever, but just don't let it be freezing like everyone's scared to jump in the shower right now. And I take my shower roll, and I go to the showers, and nobody's going in there at this time because everybody knows it's freezing. So everyone's like just laid out in bed or playing chess or doing what they do. I turn the water on. And when I turn the water on, it's freezing cold, bro. And I'm like, you know what, just let it run. You know, because I'm already doubting. I'm already like, I knew it, you know. And the water starts feeling hotter to me. It starts feeling like warm. And now I'm telling myself, is that because my water's been in the cold water for so long? If I put my shoulder in there, is it going to be freezing again? If I put my head in front of that water, is it going to be like a river? You know? And then I just hang around. I'm not in it. I'm just hanging around. And I go, let me flush the toilets, because, you know, flushing toilets gets the water hot. But not this day, because there was cold water. Everybody did that already. And out of nowhere, I feel like steam. And I'm like, what the right? And I go touch it, and it's like, oh, this thing's getting hot. I'm in. Boom. I took a shower, bro, with hot water. It wasn't even warm no more. It was hot. And I'm in there, like, waiting for this water to out.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I'm waiting for this water to turn cold on me, and it never does, and it's hot, and I finally turn the knobs off, and I'm so content, and I'm like, boom, and I don't even thank God. I don't even think I thank him. But the point was, it let me know he was real. Now, people could take that story and say other things about it, but I have so many more of these stories, you know? And like in my heart of hearts, I know God's real. I know my faith is like a child when we talk about God. Like, I believe that strongly, you know? And it's because of this story and a bunch of other stories that he's showed me throughout time and time again, like, I've been here for. And I never told nobody that story in the county jail. I started telling it years later when I was in prison, like, should it come up, I've told it. But I never told nobody in the county jail that day. I kept it to myself, and I was smiling the whole day, and I was on cloud nine the whole day because I knew that was for me. Like, yes, I am full, and here I am, you know. And to stress that, to talk about consequences in the county jail, we were rolling people up so much in that tank, right? That, and you're gonna probably really trip on this one. We were rolling people up so much in that tank that it's 20 is like the Corona tank, right? So tank 1 is Mexican white black. Tank 2 is Mexican white black or others or whatever falls in there. Now tank 3 is all Mexicans, and the label of that tank is the Corona tank, right? So the majority of people in there are from Corona, the neighborhood, and they could pull in whoever they want, other Mexicans here, there, what have you. So the cops get mad at us because we're saying supposedly too many people are getting beat up in my tank. And they go to them and they tell them, hey, we're going to start hitting if, you know, these guys don't knock that off. It's like 1 month. And in this month we've been over here how many times? Like, this is ridiculous, right? So these guys feel a certain way too. Like, I feel a certain way. They're probably in there and they're probably like, this is our tier, and this is Corona runs this tier, and if you're in one of these tanks, you're going to mind us, right? So they do what, you know, you already know what's coming, James. They do it. They tell Sonny, like, hey, calm them little fuckers down in there, and that's no one's leaving the tank no more. At this time, we had one Sonny over. By this time, Sonny's probably like in a dilemma right here, because on one hand, they're telling him what to do, and on the other hand, he loves us. So we have a big old meeting, and he's telling us, and I'm still me. So I'm like, you know what? Check this out, dog. Them fools are all Mexicans in the tank. They don't know what it is like out here. In my opinion, they're like PCW themselves, except they're not, right? They don't ever fight because they don't have to. They don't ever do this because they don't have to. I'm like, I vote we keep going. And Sonny's like, no. And And there's keep in mind that when you start making an environment, that the mind starts shaping. So now I got other fuckers like me, and they're like, yeah, we could just keep going. And then Sonny's like, well, what happens when? And we're like, well, we get visits together.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
So we're like, we get visits. I'm not in this conversation alone no more, by the way. Like I got people, we're all voicing the same opinion. We go to visits together. If they really want it, they could get the business too. Like they could get it too. And Sonny is like, he don't tell them that, so he's trying to be quiet about it, like he fixed it, but at the same time he knows we're planning to keep going. And so in time they get mad at us, right? And now there's talk like, okay, well, shit's gonna start getting handled, right? And this is where you come in, James, where you're like, oh yeah, this fool's about to get some medicine right now for all his stupidity. And I remember I was starting my first trial right there. And I remember I had already prayed that prayer to God, right? And I pray to God again, and I'm not praying for the right things. I pray, God, please let my hits feel like a ton of bricks, God. Please let my face move fast. Please don't let me go with that black eye I had for that whole year. Like, don't let me go to trial looking like that. Because the trial, I'm like, you'll get found guilty. You know, your face is all beat up. So I'm praying for speed. I'm praying for strength. I'm praying for the total wrong things, right? Because I know we're going to be going at it in that visit, on the way to visits. This is what God does, James. That tank, Corona tank, Casablanca tank, Isa Arriba tank, them tanks have been there for years. Maybe as far back since the 1950s, right? And we have to keep point for this Corona tank, right? We don't know what they're doing, but we keep point. Even as we're having beef, that don't change nothing. They're still homies. We're still homies. We still keep point and through out for the cops. We're a lookout because we have a little window and we know when they pass us, and we'll just send the word 2 blocks, tank 2. Tank 1 says it's tank 2. Tank 2 sends it's tank 3, and they stop whatever they're doing, right? Whatever criminal illegal activities they're doing. So we've been on it for like a week already or 2 weeks, keeping point for them. Well, when I pray that to God, He answers your prayers like you wouldn't believe. You know, I'm praying for a clean face for trial. He takes the whole fight away from me, bro. That day, on a fluke, the cop goes up to 19, tank 3. It's a female officer. She ends up there. Now, in any other day...
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
In every day I've been in there, and I've been in there a long time already, they never go the back way to our tier. They always come the front way, which is why we keep lookout. This day, that lady has somebody in 19C3, so she thinks it's easier to go from 19C3 the back way to 20C3, and that's what she does. And when she goes right there, and when she opens that door, I will call back right now.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to the conversation or the journey that Joe's sharing with us here. And if you're just coming in or you miss the beginning of the stream, I want to go ahead and wish everybody in here happy New Year's, happy 2024, and hopefully we got good things coming our way, with the channel and whatnot. I think this is gonna be I don't know if it's like the 3rd or 4th month since I started the channel. So, it's definitely, been an experience. I've come into, contact and, had the pleasure of conversating with a bunch of gentlemen that are currently in Centinela State Prison.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello?
Hello, Joe.
Yeah.
All right. So, just want to let you know, Righteous Monkey just tapped in, and he writes, tapping in, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year, man. Nice to have you here with us. And, okay, so now I let you know she went through the back way where they never go. And she puts that little key in the hole and she opens the door, and now she's going to be on the tier of 20 in the old jail. And what she sees is she sees a little monkey from the top fly off, and ding 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 ding, a big piece of metal is falling on the floor with them. You know, she caught them, bro, trying to escape. They have a big old hole where the TV's at when it's up. Like, okay, the TVs are always high, so the cops can't see when they look in past that TV because they just don't got an angle at it. So what these fools did was they were digging a hole. They made the first layer, and they were on their way to the second layer, which is the streets, which is the thing, but they're 3 stories high. So they were going to put sheets together, I can only imagine, and go down. Now, they had 2 big boys in there, and these big boys, they're big, so they had to make the hole wide because I'm assuming they're leaving no man behind, you know? And this thing's full of lifers, and if you're not a lifer, you're fighting the death penalty, and your deal will be an LWOP, you know? My little prayer, and to me, it's only my little prayer, you know? I just was avoiding a black eye, bro. I was just trying to avoid a black eye, and I pray God, you know, make me agile, make me a what's that dude's name? Witherspoon. You know, he dodges all the punches. You know, make me a Manny Pacquiao, in other words. You know,
Mayweather.
And he ended up Mayweather. There you go, Witherspoon. Yeah, Mayweather. Excuse me. He's like the money team. Well, I'm sorry, Mayweather, but I do know the money team, baby. I do know the money. So he took the whole tank away, bro, and all them individuals that were like gonna start pressing, and this little war we're gonna start having internally to dictate there's gonna be no more fights on 20 tier. It vanished with that, and they left. And I couldn't believe it. I was like so astonished, and I don't even think it hit me right there, but like I know it hit me that first week because I started thinking like, was that? Nah, that couldn't have been that. And as you grow, as you get older, as you start asking God for things, He gives them to you in the most strangest ways, like the ways you couldn't possibly see. He just boom, done, got you, bro. That's what He says, you know. And they lost that tank forever. And prior to that, they had it multiple decades. So I just thought I'd throw that in there too.
That was definitely interesting event, turn of events that ended up happening. Do you know what ended up happening to the gentlemen that were trying to escape?
Yeah, everyone's facing life, so it was not like they're going to get more time for that. Everyone just eventually they end up in prison with me again because we're all lifers and we're all in the same pot. And if you go to a prison, then usually you're with each other, or the guy just left, you know, or you leave and the guy just comes, you know. So they shuffle us around prison system, and I've been doing a shuffle for 27 years now. So I've been locked up with some of them guys after that, you know. Yeah, and we'll reminisce on the good old days of the county jail. Yeah. Yeah, because they knew I was a little nut, you know, and like I say, I might have been doing all kinds of stupid stuff that I shouldn't have, but at the same time, I was always me, and the me inside, it used to win a lot of people over. I really didn't have too many haters. I always had love and support all the way around, you know. Only when I was leaving was everyone on me like, fool, you better not be acting like this up there because you're going to crash and burn. And at that time, I didn't even know what crash and burn meant. I was like, what do you mean? They'll be like, you know a car, when it crashes and it burns? I'll be like, yeah. they'll be like, that will be you. So, and there was a bunch of good people trying to look out for me, trying to slow me.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Hello?
Yeah, yeah. So we just got some more comments. We have a comment here from Too Valid 123, and he writes, "Buenas tardes. I like Joe's style. I like how he takes control of the stories and articulates them very well."
Wow. Well, thank you, bro. I appreciate those words. I feel like a lost dog up here. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, but the one thing I did know what I was doing was when I was youth, I knew how to take control, and I would grab the bull by the horns. And I'm glad you appreciate the way I lay it down, because honestly, it's the only way I know how to do this,
Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
Just want to throw this out there. We're all pretty much new to this. Prior to this, I didn't have any what how can I say any training or any knowledge of how to set up a YouTube channel and how to engage with the audience and whatnot.
Yeah.
So this is just stuff that I've put together on a whim and whatnot. And I've been fortunate enough to come across a lot of these gentlemen that do know how to articulate themselves, because for me, speaking and whatnot, it's never been easy for me. I don't think I've ever done any type of public speaking and whatnot. I've always had a fear of that. So, coming across you gentlemen and speaking to you guys, it's, helping me, day in and day out, that we have these conversations, or I listen to your stories or your journeys.
Yeah.
Definitely, helping me,
Yeah.
get out of my shell and build up my speaking skills, if you will.
Yeah, I got you. Something else that came to mind right now is I love music in general. I love everything. And I say this because I love J. Cole. I love J. Cole's music, I think he's one of the better performers, rappers of date. He says in the song, I don't know what the name of the song is now, Crack a Smile for Me, or Smile, 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 or whatever it is, but he's talking about freeing the people in prison or something. He got the jail verse, I know that. Let me out of jail now, or whatever he says, right? But he says right there, like, snitches get stitches. And this is for the little guys that are on the streets, like the younger crowd, right? And we run with terms like that, like snitches get stitches. But I would not be me if I did not tell you that the mass majority of people that get locked up in the county jail and in prison, somebody told on us, bro. And nothing ever happens to them people. Now, I say this because I got a story that I'm just going to tell where, remember the nobody can steal from a lifer, like nobody's ever going to parole in a lifer. Like there's like 7, 9, 10 of us in this little tank that are lifers, And one of them guys is from Riverside. And he was alleged of robbing the Van Buren swap meet, but not the swap meet, but it's a movie theater at night. And this gentleman's brother died in that incident, And there's a third crimey, and he's just telling me again. He's sharing the story with me, like this guy. He used to be our boy, and he's telling on me. And this is in the county when I meet this guy. And this guy has money, so eventually he bails out, He's still fighting his life sentence, And I find myself now they move me to Southwest with Southwest. It's like a cell living type of prison. It's not wild no more. Like all the wildness in my county jail, it's mostly in old jail. The cops are never there. The cops walk every 4 hours. Like you literally do the most harmfulest things to people, and there's no cops to help them or save them. And when I say that, I'm going to say this. On the streets, you might use the terminology, I'll beat the shit out of you, right? Well, in the county jail, I learned that actually happens. And somehow, some way, somebody took it to the streets and said it, and everybody caught fire, right? But in the county jail, when there's no cops to save you, and you're alone in barracks, in those tanks, and you're getting beat on, you do physically uh, poop. Feces physically comes out your body. You really shit on yourself. And when that will happen, we will be beating him up even more because of what he did. And we'll be like, pick that shit up, you dirty, and all kinds of verbal abuse and all kinds of things, okay? But that terminology is actually fact. And back to the story of meeting this friend and hearing about the Van Buren thing, and this guy is telling on him. And now I'm in Southwest jail. I go to the jail, and lo and behold, here is this guy that he said was telling on him. So then I barely get there, and once I get there, I'm doing what I do. I'm digging myself deeper, right? I go to that guy's cell, and I'm like, hey, you're so and so, and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, well, right now when that cop opens the door, I'm going in there. Don't come out. Like, we're gonna talk. And he don't know what's going on, but he knows this is serious. And like always, I'm a puny little kid, and this fool got like 18 arms, bro. But I can't even see what they look like under the jumpsuit, So I don't even know what I'm walking into. So I go in there, and he's like, "What's up, fool?" And I'm like, "Hey, you told on so and so?" He's like, "No, he told on me." And I'm so confused. I never thought somebody would tell a lie like that, but that just shows how naive I am in the system. I'm young, I'm stupid, and it's showing right here, right? First of all, I shouldn't have even asked him that. I should have just waited to see what's gonna happen, right? Because eventually, I'll tell you that later. So, anyways, I questioned him, and he's like, I'm like, he told on you. Let me see the paperwork, And keep in mind, I can't even read, bro. I can't even read right here, right? But that's a normal question you're gonna ask. I'm just not telling people I can't read. So he's looking, and he's like, oh, they got it over here, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, so you're saying he told on you? And now I feel betrayed by my friend. I feel betrayed by the other guy. And he's like, yeah, fool, that's why I'm still in here. That's why he's out, because he's telling. And this is making sense to me. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, we're going to figure this out, fool. Me and you and him, we're going to figure out what's going on. Because in my mind, a man will never leave, right? In my mind,
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I don't picture a man being scared of another man. At least that's what I picture right here, right? So we decide we're going to wait, and we're going to figure this out, all three of us, right? And the other guy's on the streets. So I leave his cell, and I jump on the phone, and I call the other guy, and I'm like, hey, fool, you told me this fool told on you? Like, you told on this fool? And now I'm questioning him. He's like, what? Like, fool, you're sick. Like, what's wrong with you? Da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, hey, homie, you're going to have to. He's like, I'm going to go visit you. So him and his girl come. And the next day, that guy leaves. That guy that I jammed up, he's gone. He gets on the bus at Southwest. Anybody that's been to that jail, you leave like at 2:30 to court. This fool left with his little belongings, and they transferred him out the jail, right? So then it takes like a week for the other guy to visit me. And the other guy comes, and he visits me, and his girl's right there, and she like pulls out a crumbled up paper in her pocket, and they're unfolding it, and they're like pressing it to the window with their body, like blocking it. And I see their highlight everything, right? And I'm trying to read it, but I can't read, bro. And I'm not sharing them that. And I'm just like, okay. And I see his name, and I'm trying to, do it all fast. And I'm like, damn, these fools are probably looking at me like I'm retarded, And I'm like, okay, I seen what I need to say. I seen what I need to see, right? And they're like, yeah, bro, come on, fool. That fool, like, told on me. And I'm like, man, I won't make the same mistake twice. I'm sorry.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I should have went about this differently, right? And now I'm just going to fast forward to the future. I get another transfer, and now I go to old jail. And I'll tell you about that because this individual, I run into him again. So I'll call right back and tell you what happened.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, this is definitely getting interesting here. And for those of you that are just tuning in right now, you definitely want to go back to the beginning where where he kind of explains, he's looking for somebody. So pretty much, he was back in the halls, and one of the other what do we call them, juveniles? I don't think a ward. I think they would, yeah, it's a juvenile. I think they refer to it as wards. Oh,
This call is now being
Esta
recorded.
es Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
hello.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Now we're back in session, and I end up going back to the old jail, and I'm there maybe like 3 or 4 days in the old jail in a new spot, and it's a big tank. It's like a dorm living, 21-man people, right? And then they're bringing new people, so it's like a line of maybe like 7 individuals. And you can hear the cop say the name, so I hear the name, and I'm like, is this that fool? And I look, and it's him. And I'm like, oh, snap. So what do? I run to what I know. I'm grabbing the soaps, and I'm putting them in the sock, and I'm trying to do this incognito from everyone else. And I put them under the bunk, and I'm like, okay, this is going down, right? Because I pledged my loyalty to my friend, and I said, you know what, I'll do this for you because I don't believe in that, right? So then I put the curtain up like I'm using the restroom, and when I say the curtain up, you grab a sheet and you tie it from like one bar to another, and it blocks you and makes like a pretend wall. Well, I'm doing that because I don't want this individual to see me because he already took off from the other place, right? So I'm hiding myself from him. I'm being sneaky right here. So I do that, and I was working out with somebody, Asian that came from prison. So the Asian, when you come to prison, you're kind of up on game already. So after this incident happened, the Asian was like, I knew you were doing something because you just stopped working out. You went to the toilet. Like, I knew it. And I was like, okay, this fool was up on game. You know, I'm thinking I'm sneaky, but he's seen the whole play. They let this individual in the tank, and then they closed the tank, and I'm still right there hiding behind the sheet because I'm like, give that cop like 2 minutes, and he'll be in the office, and then it's 4 hours, bro. I'm gonna have right here because that cop's not gonna come back. And I come out the sheet, and this guy's already meeting people. He's a Mexican, and he's meeting other Mexicans in the tank. And I go, and I grab the sock, and then when I'm walking up, he finally sees me. And he's like, hey, what's up, fool? And I go, remember what I told you? And he was like, huh? And I just started swinging for the fences with that sock. Taka, taka, taka. And then now I see how big this gentleman is because his jumpsuit was rolled down and his arms were like, beefing out that shirt. And I see what I'm fighting. And this is a beefy dude, and I don't got Elsinore with me no more. I'm one-on-one right here. And he puts out his hand, and he ends up grabbing that sock when I'm swinging it at him, and he pulls me. And I just remember my brain was so quick. I go run with the punch, run with the sock, went to the pool, and just punch him, use the force to punch him. And I did. And I just let go of the sock, and I was just drilling, and he's holding me, and everybody in that tank that was Mexican got between us, and they jumped in. And I'm not used to this behavior because, remember, I used to kind of have my way. But I'm new to this tank. So everyone's getting in the middle, and they got a homie from Ontario that thinks he's all high power. And he's like, what are you doing? We can't do this. And I just go to the bunk, and I start reloading another sock and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you guys are backing up a snitch. Oh, you guys are going to get the business right now. And now they got big eyes, and they're like, whoa, we're not, and they get out the way, and they let me go again. But now they're scared. These little words scared them. And they're letting me go, and the cop comes, and that guy was yelling for help. And usually when people ask for help right here, the cop don't even hear you, bro. So somehow, some way, that cop hurt him, and they took me and they took him, and what do? Like always, the winner comes back. So they take me for like 4 hours. They bring me back to the tank, and now everyone's applauding what I did. They're encouraging the behavior, and I'm not saying they're to blame. I'm the one to blame because I'm gloating in this. I'm bathing in this moment. And they're like, how did you know? And I'm like, I've been chasing him down. I've been hunting him down. He left Southwest. They brought me the paperwork. And now I'm telling them a story, and they're all like, oh, wow, this guy's. And I'm like, yeah, and you stupid fools got involved, and I could have got more hits on them. And, we're having that debate. And they're like, well, you need to tell us. I'm like, I'm not going to wake you up out your sleep to tell you. You should be awake. You should be a soldier. You should have been aware. Like all you fools were asleep, barely waking up when all this is going down and getting in the middle, and you have people coming off their bunks with blankets to get in the middle of us. And but I'm gloating, and this reward system that is like the lifestyle, like the river, like the current. I'm getting applauded now that everyone knows the story and everyone's filled in with the information. Even the black guys tell me later, like, hey, man, that was you did that. And I'm like, I'm just doing what anybody would do. But in reality, like, a lot of people don't do this. I was extreme. I was an extreme thinker, and I had extreme emotions, and all this extremeness within me was causing extreme behavior. Because, like I said, when I get arrested and someone tells on me, nobody does nothing to him. And I could have felt less than right there because I'm not from nowhere. But all the guys I meet, they're from somewhere, and somebody told on them too, and nobody does nothing. And I'm telling the little kids out there, like, when you hear a J. Cole talk about snitches get stitches, or maybe Meg Thee Stallion, or whoever's feeling rah at that time when they write the song they write, it's just entertainment. And I say this because I was gullible as a kid. Like, if I heard something on a song, I would take that as truth. And I'll be like, oh, that happens. Like, they said that, And that isn't the case in real life. Because in 27 years, I have met one person for intimidating a witness. And this guy's out of LA County.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
This gentleman is out of LA County, and this gentleman did not kill nobody. He did not kill the witness. He did not kill nobody around. He has a life sentence, and part of that is if you're talking to somebody and you tell them to move or you do this or that, if they move 5 feet, I believe, that's kidnapping, even though you didn't lay a hand on them because they're fearful of their life. So for this guy thinking he's going to go over there and be rah-rah and get his homie out of jail and, like, you're not going to testify against my homeboy, it was that fast. And he's been busted 17 years already. So it's a big difference from Hollywood movies and rap songs than real life. They just don't equal up in my perception, in my view, I'm not saying they never happen, but the numbers have to be staggering. That the percentage of things that do happen is so small. It's so small. So don't think it's big, and don't think it's normal.
And I want to go ahead and thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, a lot of people preach that movement, but at the end of the day, a lot of people don't participate in it as much as they promote it. I would say it's kind of like
absolutely.
It's like the big. It's like the like finding a Bigfoot. Everybody talks about him, but nobody actually seen him.
Yeah. Nobody had coffee with Bigfoot. Nobody had coffee with Bigfoot people. That's what don't happen. And that's true because I was so gullible as a kid. I would take Eazy-E song, Boys in the Hood, or that song used to like resonate. And I'm talking about I had it when the song was new, so I'm a little kid, But I used to be like, this is real. This is real. And the thoughts we have help form the ideas. And then later on, you'll start believing stuff. But it all starts with how you think. The way you think shapes your life. Believe it or not.
You know what? And let me. Can I want to ask you a question? Because yesterday when I was driving,
Yeah.
I was driving home and I was thinking about something. Uh, so you know how the victim, Angel, she lost her life and
Yeah. Yeah. She lost her life.
she was young. I don't think you ever mentioned how old she was, but did you ever catch, did anybody ever make it an issue that you killed the, innocent bystander? Was it ever an issue?
It was never an issue, bro. I'm leaving something big out. It's good you asked that question. It was never an issue, and I'm leaving something so big out in the county jail. When when you go from juvenile hall to the county jail, like you're an inmate, but you have no paperwork with you, right? So for all the viewers all throughout the United States of America, and if you're listening from another country, this is what we do in California. You ask for your discovery, and basically that's like saying, give me the paperwork of why you're busted, right? So everybody does it. Like if you're there a while, you have it with you. It's like your passport. It's like your DMV driver's license, right? So you get this paperwork, and what you do is as soon as you get it, the homies that have been with you in the tank, they want to read it. They're like, shoot it. And this paperwork, you're not you're not boasting about a crime. You're not bragging about a crime. But when you share paperwork like that, it's kind of doing that for you because they would read my case, and instead of saying like dang fool that sucks, I never got those kind of feedbacks earlier on. I will get the damn this fool's crazy. This fool ran after the truck. This fool was like, and then when they're asking you like what happened, and you lay the whole story down like I was planning that, they just embrace you. And so what happens in the long run is we all know each other's cases because we will physically read them. Now I can't read, so I might look at your case and pretend but more than likely I'm probably going off of what you told me. But it is a common practice in county jails to do.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And instead of them, James, instead of them going that way with it, they were going the other way with it. And I don't know if my behavior was helping them go the other way with it because at the same time, as soon as I got my discovery, I want to share this with everybody. The living victim. The cops are questioning this person, and he is not cooperating. He is making up this story, that story, right? But he also says things in there that are like he names his homeboys. He's naming who this is, who that is, and of such. But he knows not to snitch enough to say I couldn't really see the shooter. But he said a lot of other things in that paperwork. So along when I get my paperwork, what I do is this. He's in another part of the jail because the detectives will question him a couple of times, and then they finally just point blank, if you don't help us, we're gonna give you 25 to life because you're hindering the investigation of a murder or something like that. Like you're tampering. They flip the coin on him. They're like, no, you're not telling us, and you're helping this other fool get away. So he goes to Southwest Jail when I'm in old jail. And what I do right there is so much of a criminal. I get this paperwork, and now I'm sending it to the streets, and I'm getting copies of it, and I'm sending it to Southwest Jail through homies. I got homies in Southwest Jail, and I'm sending it to the streets to his homies saying, your homie's a rat, your homie told, your homie. I mean, I get it. He might not be telling on me, but he's pointing you fools out, and he's giving cops nicknames to names that they never knew about. So this individual starts getting beat up in the jail because of what I'm doing, because I'm pressing this line. So I don't know, James, because you've been busted too. I don't know if all this, everything I'm doing is it's like helping me.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I don't know if all this is helping me be like fit in with one of the fellas, right? Because they see the movements, they see the style, they see everything, and they are loving everything, you know?
Yeah, no, you're definitely, winning brownie points, with the way you were moving. I can easily see them, embracing, what you're doing because, they drive off of it. I've seen
Yeah,
youngsters come in and ready, to set down a demolition or a demo,
yeah,
and they definitely do get embraced. I mean, this is back then. I don't know what it is now. Like I said, I haven't been in the system in over 20 something
yeah,
years, so. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
I can definitely see how that would have affected you and pushed you to do those type of things. I know it's about to cut off like in a second or two, so if you want to go ahead and call me back.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right. So yeah, I was thinking about that, or yesterday, when I was driving back home, right before I had set up the stream, if it wasn't ever an issue. Like I said, I mean, I didn't catch the young lady Angel's age. When she was when she was. I mean, there's no other way to put it. She was murdered. Um, so I'm not sure. Maybe that's why it was never an issue that was pressed. I mean,
This call is
Esta
now
es
being
Global
recorded.
Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello. Hello.
hello. Sorry, I had you on mute. So
Okay.
after
Okay.
after this call here, this will be our last one right now, at least for today.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put
Yeah.
up the phone number if anybody wants to call in and tap in, ask any questions or has any comments. So they'll have that ability, in the line. The line will be open.
Yeah. And you know what, James? For a long time, like when I get busted, I'm not from nowhere. I know that, right? But and when I came to prison, I know I'm part of the umbrella, right? Like I'm an umbrella right there, right? So barely, like when I started taking CGA, which is Criminal Gangs Anonymous, barely then did I realize what we're talking about now. Like when I go to the county jail, it doesn't matter to them because they see a gang member. Like they see the way you're moving, the way you're going, your willingness, your commitment. So maybe that blinded a lot because they're like, yeah, he's one of us, you know. And more so, I feel at the time too because I'm like, you guys ain't doing everything I'm doing. I'm doing it. Why ain't you doing it? That's how I felt. Like, why ain't you doing it? And I don't know. It's crazy because when you take CGA, I realized that when I was about 12 years old, I started getting away from gangs. But that's the term we use in California, like the gangs, right? But I didn't realize that I was in gangs my whole life because if you're talking about ravers or taggers or rebels or party crews or whatever you are doing that's breaking the law, that's a gang, you know? I was just gung-ho with it. So you could be from a nameless gang, but if you're breaking the law, you're moving like a criminal. You're moving like a gang member. And I just happened to be moving so much that they couldn't tell the difference. And I could see that now. And I really seen it when I started dissecting my life when I came to prison. I wondered how I got so lucky, right? How I got so lucky in prison. And when I look back at it, they loved what they were seeing. They loved what walked into the door. And they were like, no, fool, we're going to, you need to be right here. Even though it wasn't the place that I wanted to be, because honestly, I just wanted to come in and hurt people, and that didn't happen like that. Like I wanted to be Rambo in here, and little by little we're gonna go into that story, but people had a different opinion about me, and my whole life in prison was easy. I never been prison is a place I gotta tell the people too. It's a place where you meet all the killers, right? And there's different prison. There's real prison and what I'm gonna call like fake prison, right? So in California we have level fours. Now that sounds kind of treacherous, level four, but you gotta cut it in half because there's two level fours. There's a level four, and we call it a 270, or the officers call it a 270. Now this is like a soft level four. You have people.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Have people died in 270s? Yes. Is there violence in 270s? Yes. But here's the other half of a level four, and it's a 180. And in a 180 prison, it does not get more than that in California. Murders are frequent. Death is around you all the time. You feel it. You can almost breathe it. Violence is high. And when by the time I do end up leaving county jail, I start coming to prison and all that, and I become familiar with 180 style prisons as normal. And I will have to find out later that none of that is the majority of prisoners that go on 180s is few, and the rest of the prison system is like not as treacherous. There's no other way to say it. It's just not as treacherous. Now, out of 180 prisons, there is 7 in California, I believe. Let's see. There's Tehachapi, New Delano, Salinas Valley, New Corcoran, New Folsom, High Desert, and Pelican Bay. Those are the most treacherous prisons known to man in California. And out of the 7, I've been to 4. So all those stories will come up in the near future. But what I want to say right now is Iceman likes statistics, right? So when I'm in the county jail and I'm doing all this, I'm looking for Jimmy's crime, right? The guy that's telling on Jimmy. I never forgot about him. And I'm looking for him while I'm getting all these other incidences. But I can't find him. And I can't find him because he's in PC, which is protective custody. Now, this is in 1997. And in 1997, the amount of inmates that are in PC is about 5%. It's about 5% of the population. Now, the number of inmates statewide in California at this time is about 170,000 inmates. That's almost 200,000. I believe we're in the range close to 10% of the United States of America's incarcerated population in California. It's that high and that dramatic in California. Do you have anything to ask, Jimmy? Or James, excuse me? I'm so stuck on Jimmy and his time here.
You know what? Let me ask you right now that you're talking about statistics. Would you happen to know right now what's the GP versus non-designated? What do you know what the numbers are looking like now?
Okay. I do know what the numbers are looking at now, and people could Google them for themselves, but I think I'm pretty accurate, give or take 10 or something like that, right? But in 1997, PC is protective custody, and who lies in there is, like if you molested your child, the inmate population will try to kill you, so you lie in there. And if you raped a girl, the criminal aspect of us, right, it's gonna be like, and not not every race or every umbrella thinks the same, but for Mexicans in California, we looked at it like if you raped a girl, you could have raped my sister, and I have a mother too. So we are going to do everything we can to try to kill you. You know, that's the gist of it, right? So rapists, child molesters, and people that told. In Jimmy's case, his crime is there, right? So so that's 5% in 1997. In time, this PC tag, protective custody, it grows into something else, and it grows into like SNY, right, which stands for sensitive needs yard. And the statistics now are about, I don't want to say 80 because what if it's wrong, right? Let's just say 70. Let me keep a low number on it because I don't want nobody thinking I'm pumping it up if it's not to 80, right? So let me just say it's 70% now. That 5% has now turned into 70%. And that doesn't say that more people started getting arrested for rape and child molestation and snitching. That's not what that number says. Now, when I talk about prison, when I speak about my journey in prison, I'm gonna talk more about the dynamics of the number change, of things that are happening. The county jail was wild. Tupac has a verse. The prison ain't nothing like the county jail, right? He goes on one. I used to love that verse because when I came to prison, everything slowed down for me. The county was so wild. It was so fun. It was so fights all the time, violence all the time, but it was a different kind of violence. I don't remember people dying in the county. I just remember people getting the shit beat out of them. People almost dying is not people dying, you know? So when you come to prison, that kind of violence stops. It's like all the wild stuff is out the window. And when they're warning me, you can't be like that, it's true. I couldn't be the same way in prison as I was in the county because I just wanted to live a healthy lifestyle in the beginning, right? So I had to reset, and I'm going from college to the NFL now. The game's going to slow down for me. But when it slows down, death, actual death, and being stabbed to death, being choked to death in the cell by your cellmate, it starts to become normal. Because the violence might not keep up with the county, but the death rate surely explodes over the county ever had, you know? And we'll talk about those coming up because I don't want to get into it and it's just going to be the beginning and end, right? But is there any other things you could think about, James, or anything, or just free ball it till we're out?
Well, actually, we just got a question in from Righteous Monkey, and Righteous Monkey is asking, so random question for Joe, who, or if he feels like answering, what does an average day look like for him as soon as he wakes up? I know routine is huge in prison. I only did a year, but routine was everything.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I don't know if he's talking about here and now, right? Or if he's talking about when I first came to prison. So I'm just going to do my best in answering both of them. When I first came to prison, my daily wake up would be, workout would always be in there, right? But how can I advance this? How can I make my team stronger than the next team? So I was always thinking like that. And making weapons when I first came to prison was a huge part of my life too. So I don't know how often I made weapons, but I know I was making them, you know, and I know that was part of my life. And thinking of ways to be more crafty as a criminal. And actually, when I go into the prison stories, I'll tell you about some accomplishments as a criminal that I made that were groundbreaking, because here it is, this little kid comes to prison and nobody's done this before me, and I can't figure out why. Like, what's wrong with your guys' brains? I can't even read, you know. But again, I'm not telling nobody that, but I used to think like that. Like, why am I always doing it? Why am I always the guy that has to come up with this idea, right? Now, that's completely changed. My days now, I wake up and, you know, I thank God. I pray before I go to sleep now. Back then, I wasn't praying every night like that. Like nowadays, I pray every night, you know? Now that I met you, this is becoming a daily routine. Like, believe it or not, when you're not here, I look forward to talking to you, and I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. But I know hopefully it helps somebody, you know? I give back a lot now. I recently, at the prison I'm at, I recently got together a St. Jude Children's fundraiser drive together. I barely got to this prison. These guys have been here before me. It's been like 2 years since COVID, since anybody did something. And they're like, we haven't had something like that in this long. And I'm like, well, I'm here now, so forget what you're talking about. We're going to run a fundraiser. Me and another gentleman were successful in getting the captain to sign off on it. Volunteers, we got the CRM office to...
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
So that we could donate money, so the inmates could donate money off of their books. And we did that currently right here. And we sent a big check to St. Jude Children's Hospital. And if I'm not here and the other inmates not here, that don't happen, you know? So I look for ways to give back to my community now, and that's always at the forefront of my mind. So with that said, we'll close this off.
Hey, Joe, actually, just call me back one more time, because we did with Angel.
Okay.
Angel slipped in a question right now under the wire, so I want to go ahead and have that question answered before we cut it.
Okay. Here we are. I'll call right back right now, because it's going to hang up.
All right, perfect. So yeah, when he calls back right now, I'll go ahead and ask him his question. But yeah, but from my understanding, it's definitely I would not recommend it for anybody still on the active side, or in good standings, to jump on any even on the news, doing any type of interviews or podcast or anything that falls within that realm that's going to raise some eyebrows, because it's probably not going to turn out too good, for you if you do something like that. I know a few years back there was a dude from up north that
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello, Joe.
Hello?
All right.
Yeah.
So the next question is going to be from Angel, and he wants to know a question for Joe. So homies that are still active are not allowed to be on the podcast or talk about anything, correct?
I wouldn't even know that. I wouldn't even know how to answer that question, James.
Okay, yeah. So what I was talking about right now. So when the call was disconnected, from my understanding, when you are on the active side
I get it. I get the question now. I get the question. I was saying, Angel, I only asked James this question because at first when I heard it, I kind of thought there was some discrimination against someone calling in. So I didn't know. So that's why I said, hey, this seems like a better question suited for you, James, because I have no idea what's going on, right? Now, if you want my opinion on that, I know for a fact you could get away with it, right? But you would probably have to be sneaky about it, because when it comes to light, like there's certain questions that I have no reservations answering no more, right? Um, but maybe someone feels uncomfortable talking about something. But more so, if certain people find out, then I could see that being a problem. And at the same flip side of that coin, I know somebody could call in and be sneaky with it and give their opinions on it. And I'm sure a lot of guys would love and be dying to do that. But I believe the podcast is still relatively new. And as we grow as a community in this podcast, maybe we get that day where people are sneaking in, because I'm one of them. Like I would sneak in and say everything and be like, not it is what it is, because you're not trying to get caught or you're not trying to get in a jam. Nobody's trying to put a spotlight on themselves and say, hey, come stab me. That's the one thing nobody's trying to do in prison. But if there was somehow, some way, somebody could call in, like on a throughway where it doesn't say the name, where nothing's backtracking, where like stuff like that, I'm sure some people out there would want to do that. Now, would they be willing enough to do that in just not a thought in their head and physically do it? I don't know. But I don't know. I just can't answer for all the hundreds of inmates that are out there, because we're all different, and some people might be willing to do that.
And just to add my 2 cents on that one. I know a few years back, I want to say maybe like 2 years ago, there was a dude from up north that did jump on one of these podcasts or streams or whatnot, and it didn't
Yeah.
turn out too good for him. He was on the active side, and,
Yeah.
and he made that known. And he talked pretty freely. This interview that I'm talking about was eventually taken down, and it was taken down because unfortunately that gentleman ended up losing his life. And it was speculated that
That's
it was due to
yeah.
the interview. I mean, I can't confirm nor deny. I mean, these are internet rumors and comments and whatnot that I read, or people made videos about it. But like I said, that video
Yeah.
quickly came down, disappeared, and that was that. So and I know when I've seen like other shows like MSNBC, if anybody that wasn't the active site ever gave an interview, they normally had a shadow with them
Yeah.
to make sure nothing damning was revealed. And I know I did see this
Yeah.
other interview where this gentleman did give an interview on the active side, and I think within the day or two, they ended up having him removed. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend for anybody that's currently in prison and still on the active side, to do something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then he also asked, but that's only if you're in prison, right? For that also, I've seen like other channels and whatnot that are considered, I guess, for better lack of a better word, active podcast, or maybe I just made that
Yeah.
out. But I know they do, and they share their prison experiences from the active side. As far as if there was any backlash, I don't know. I think on the street you're a little bit more, you have more wiggle room and whatnot. I think that would only be an issue once you came back into the system, and then again, you might give the opportunity for somebody, if they want to push the issue on you. That might be a good angle for them to start at. So these are the things you definitely got to think about before you decide to jump on one of these podcasts, if you are on the active side. But I mean, I don't know anything, and I've never been to prison, so it's pure speculation on my side. So it's not written in stone. So it just my thought on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing, guys. At least with me, um, bettering myself was a progress, right? It didn't come easy. So with me, the majority of what I talk about, it is active, you know? It's 23 years active, you know? So we're going to get into that later, but But I just want you to know that the majority of my stories and everything that's coming out is well, the majority of my life was over there, you know. And I want to say something else about the day, how I spend my day and all that, right? I was an excellent criminal. Like when I look back at the things I did and the like I was successful at being a criminal. And that same level of success that I inflicted on this world in a negative way is the same mindset I have to to enlighten this world on a positive tip, right? To start erasing the bad things, right? Because I no longer do bad things, but now to start doing good with my life, with other lives, with communities, right? And I know that I'm going to be successful in that as well, because my mind only thinks how my mind thinks, and it's taken me to different level of heights. And I know I'm just the same person, but I'm just walking in a different direction, you know. So that
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
that's how my days are now, right? But I can't even tell you what I'm going to do on the streets, because I know I got like unlimited potential. You know, if I did all that stuff on looking at life with a bad lens and how I could be worse and how I could be bad and how I could make those around me shine, I know I'm going to do the same thing now that I'm on a different trip. You know, I'm looking at life through a different lens, and I don't want nobody to come to prison or jail that don't have to. You know, and it's kind of different when you hear something from somebody that's really hasn't been in that life. Like, as a little kid, people did talk to me, and I'll be like, get the hell out of here. Like, in my mind, I would just, basically what I'm trying to say is I shut them out. In one ear, out the other. But when you have somebody where you can ask them almost any question, and they can answer almost any question, and they can bring you down a couple levels into that question that you didn't even realize were there, I think you start paying attention more, you know? And my plan is to go, when I get out, to juvenile halls, right? And it is to, you know, at-risk kids. Like, if I parole, and I have no reservations about going to a cop station, an officer station, saying, hey, do you guys got any children that you think could that you think could hear a conversation? Or you know what kids I'm after. I'm after the ones that you think that are bad right now, you know. And if I could do that, and if I could save a life here and there, hey, bro, I'm doing great, you know. And I'm not ashamed to go to the cop station no more and ask them, hey, I want to help you. I know you're with a badge, and I know that, but I want to help save some lives out here, you know. And that's the way I'm going, you know.
You know, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I've made this comment to Jesse and to Silas before, and if you would have used that same energy, you know, for something positive, man, who knows? You know, the sky would have been would have been the limit. You know, unfortunately, you know, we're misguided and whatnot, and we chose to use it on you know, street crimes or criminal activity.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now, you know, a lot of you guys that are you know, pushing, you know, education and sponsoring or holding a lot of these groups are the people that were the, I guess, putting in that work, or you know, or you guys were those guys that were doing things like that. So, you know, definitely, you know, have to recognize that, and it's not easy, because, you know, there's always, you know, other people looking at you and judging you guys, you know, for what you guys are doing now. So
yeah,
I'm sure when you make that decision, you know, it wasn't an easy decision, you know, because peer pressure sucks, you know, when people are talking about you and they're making comments and they look at you weird, or, you know, they're talking about you. So, I'm sure, during,
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
during that, that part of your journey, I'm pretty sure it was a difficult, choice to make.
Yeah, when we get to that part, when we get to that part, it's real emotional for me, right? And the best way I could say it, and you will understand when we get there, because I don't want to do no spoiler alerts or nothing like that, right? But the best way I could say it is like, Lethal Weapon. What's Lethal Weapon's name? Braveheart.
Oh, Mel Gibson?
Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson is in The Patriot, and he says something like, I don't have the liberty to think like that no more, And he goes on to say, like, he has a family or whatever, right? But it hits so hard in the movie. And we're going to get to that moment way in the future when we get there on me, But yeah, man, sometimes life has a way of waking you up, And again, I'm happy where I'm at. And this thing, what we're doing on the podcast, like I'm emotional right now, bro. Like, these are new feelings that I never felt before. Just even talking to you about this right now,
And what we hear right there in the background is it's brings you back that you're not calling us from home, you're calling us from your prison cell.
California State Prison.
Yep. And I know we're short again, but they snuck in a few more questions on us. Iceman has one.
Okay, I'll call.
Right. Yeah. So go ahead and call us back. And somebody wants to know what part of Riverside County you're from too.
Okay.
You know what?
I can answer that one.
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Call back?
No, go for it.
Back?
No, we still got like a minute.
We
got like a minute and 20.
Okay. Because I can answer that one right now. Moreno Valley.
All right, cool, perfect. And I'm gonna read off this last this question from. Oh, you know what? Well, actually, sorry, I got one from Felipe Navarro. He put, "What up, Joe? Live in El Paso, Texas. And what part of El Paso is your grandpa's house? Where is
Le
it located?
queda un restante de 60 segundos.
Is it located on the west, the east, or the lower valley?"
I won't know what that means, right? Because I didn't grow up out there. But I will say this: it's El Paso Pecos or El Paso Pecas, Texas. I don't know if that means anything to him, but that's what's in my mind right now.
All right. So, yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
Want me to call back?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I still got
I'll
another
hang up and
question
call back
from.
right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So, Eliasman, I'll go ahead and as soon as he calls back, then I'll go ahead and answer your question, and then I do see Tony Yayo put a comment there, so I'll go ahead and read that off to him as soon as he calls back. And hey, thank you. I appreciate the support. Lifestyle Chronicles, live untold stories of the incarcerated. Can't get the content anywhere else. 100%. Yeah, directly. You were getting it directly from the source. Living it, going through it, and I think he's been down for at least 27 years so far. So hopefully, he has some good news, sometime soon, and would definitely, like to witness, him walking out of these prison walls.
This call is now being recorded.
Esta es Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
All right, Joe.
Hello?
Thank you for calling back. So Eliasman is asking, does Joe think he would still be alive if he never committed his life crime? Also, other than being a DJ, what would have been his dream job?
Iceman, at that age, I couldn't see nothing past the DJ. Now I'm gonna say I stopped thinking about DJing around 95, 96, right? I kind of let it go, and right before my crime happened, I ended up selling my whole DJ system, right? Because I was just worn out from it, right? But prior to that, I thought I was going to be Richard Humpty Vision, and anyone can Google that name, right?
Oh man.
Oh, you know who Richard Humpty Vision
Oh
is?
man, Power Tools, man. Bad Boy
Yeah,
Bill.
Power Tools, right? Bad Boy Bill out of Chicago.
Yeah,
Joey
DJ.
F.
Yeah. DJ
Yeah,
Irene.
so all these people, the arena, yes, and
Yeah.
Sweet Sundays and Groovy Wednesdays, like I was all up in this scene, my boy.
Yeah.
And I thought I was gonna be a DJ, like no matter what, right? But then I ended up selling my system. I ended up falling astray. Like I started getting. Remember, I stray away from games when I'm like 12, right? But like around 15, 16, I didn't go back to games. But I started developing this attitude in me that was like I'm thug, you know, like I'm staying away from warehouse parties. I'm staying away from clubs now. I'm doing like little, not DJing, just attending like small get-togethers at houses, playing rap music. Like I was just going towards a more negative stance, right? And what was the other question he had? Oh, do I think I will be alive? No, I didn't, because I mentioned like my aunt dying, but that's because she's my aunt. I mentioned the thing at my sister's house, because that was at my sister's apartment next door to me, right? I'm mentioning these things just to give you an idea, but what I don't mention is like when things are happening to me on the streets, right? Like shootout scenarios, you know, where I have a friend die. I'm not mentioning that stuff because I'm already gone at that point. Mentally, I'm already there. I could do this to anybody already, right? So, yeah.
Man. And I do have some other questions and comments right here. Let me just take a look at them, and I'll go ahead and read them off to you. I'm just trying to set up this timer because I keep on forgetting to hit the timer
Okay.
button, so I could keep track
Okay.
of the time here. So let me see here. So Tony Yayo puts okay. So you know how earlier on I asked you a question that he had asked, and he puts oh, okay, that's right. I grew up in I think it's Rubadux and Miraloma.
Yeah. Yeah, Ruby Dukes and G Unit. Yeah, I hear you, Tony Ayo. Yeah.
And then he also put
Yeah.
he also put shout out to Moreno.
G Unit.
shout out to Moreno Valley, Paris, and Hemet.
Yeah. That's you know, that's where I was born and raised, my boy, you know. And I carried that thing on me like it was my flesh in here, you know, and that goes on to you my character defects, my insecurities, like why couldn't I just be normal, you know? But I couldn't, because deep down I was broken. So yeah.
And you know what, he put another comment on here. He says then this was Tony Yeo. He said this was the dude that grew up around party crews type fools too, right? I know the IE has a rich history of party crew scenes.
Yeah, it does.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
It does, my boy. And I'm gonna say this, James. We would have flyers, and pretty much my whole time DJing was flyers, right? Richie Rich Productions, the DOGs, Clash, Infamous, right? And those flyers will be like LA's finest, and it'll be DJs, brah. And then it'll be like IE's finest on the right side, brah. And I lived for this stuff, bro. I remember the parties where a party would get broken up, and either you didn't have cell phones in these days, so it was pagers, but you'll be like, after hours, follow us, and girls would be like, what, woo, and or after party, or after hours, either or, same thing, right? You'll scream that when the party's breaking up, when the cops are breaking it, and my boy, I'll be like, let's just say SGV, because you might be familiar with it, right? I'll be on like Hacienda, and we'll be right up there on the freeway where we're gonna turn on the freeway, right? Like there's like probably 2 gas stations when you come off the freeway, and we'll be on that part up there. And when I look to the right, all the cars are going right, and everyone has the hazard lights on. Because remember, there's no cell phone, so you got to follow the car in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's like 200 cars with blinking hazard lights, and they're all like Honda Civics and Honda Accords. Everyone's like, ying, like those little Too Fast and the Furious cars. And you look in the back, and as far as you can see down Hacienda, it'll be all these blinking lights. And I just used to enjoy those moments and be like, can you picture what these normal people with these little kids are thinking right alongside of us? They're like, what's up with all these teenagers and the cars, and everyone got the hazard lights on. It's like a big old snake on the freeway, And I used to really enjoy these moments. This was like all love and happiness. I felt like the hippies, but in a modern time. Like we're just here to party, have fun, don't want no drama, and just hear music and dance. Or do what you do. Go stand in front of a speaker and shake your head when you can't even hear nothing. Do whatever you go hit the NOS tank. Go do what you do. Yeah.
And you know what? I want to touch on something that you said, because you definitely took me down memory lane. The arena, man, we used to be big on the arena back in 93, 94, 96. So we were probably in the same space. Yeah, we were in the same space,
in the same place.
Yup, during those times.
There was a little DJ. There was a little. I was young.
Was it Speedy K?
There was Ozzy.
Oh, okay.
No, it was Ozzy.
Yeah,
DJ Ozzy.
Yeah.
No, but Speedy K was working for Power 106. Yeah, he was young too, but Ozzy was like a 12-year-old kid. He was like me, but in LA.
Okay.
And I'm over here in IE, right?
Yeah.
So they would always tell me about this little kid, like, oh, there's a little kid, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And finally, I met him and seen him, and I was tripping out, because when you see someone else doing it your age, you're like, we're the 2 youngest ones doing it, and now I get why. Like I would do warehouses, I would do parties, I would do skate arenas, all that, clubs, right? But sometimes I would do quinceañeras, and sometimes I would do weddings. Like this was like I was taking it like a real job, right? So when you're at a quinceañera or at a wedding, and it's a bunch of Mexican people, and they killed a cow and they killed a pig, and they're eating this and that, right? You're DJing, and the girls will come up to you and be like, hey little boy, where's your uncle? And I'll be like, what uncle? And they'll be like, well, who's the DJ? And I'll be like, I'm the DJ. And they'll be looking at me like, this fool's crazy. and then they see that no one's going up there, and they come back and they're like, hey, you're really the DJ kid? Like, who do you belong to? And I'm like, they booked me for this job, And anyways, it was funny to look back and be like, dang, fool, you were just, even in a positive aspect, you were out of control all the way around,
Hey, let me ask you, do you remember Purple Shield?
Yes, I do.
Man.
Yes, I do remember Purple Shields.
Did you go to the one? Did you go to the one in Raging Waters? It was 97. I'm not sure what 1 month you got arrested in 97.
I was gone. I was gone already.
Yeah.
The last big thing I did like that was probably I think it was called the LA Skate Express or the LA Skate Arena. It was a big boy Power 106, and it was in Pomona. That's the last thing I attended like that,
Yeah.
But Purple Shields definitely had a name, and it was a respected name. And I remember even out of California, the party scene, our record label was Aqua Boogie. And I used to envision making a beat and selling it to Aqua Boogie or doing whatever we do with it and having my own little boom, 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 let me hear you say whale. Like, I always envisioned my own song, man,
Yeah.
And it was only because Tony, I think his name was Tony B. Tony B, the guy that used to DJ with Richard Humpty Vision on Power Tools. I think his name was Tony B.
Yeah,
and he
Tony
made
Vision,
a song one time, and I was like,
yeah.
Richard Humpty Vision. Yeah, and I was I didn't know a DJ could make a song. So that a light, a light bulb goes off in my head, and I'll run with it like to the moon. And I always remember he was the inspiration for wanting my own song.
Man, yeah, I definitely,
Yeah.
you took me down memory lane,
Memory lane,
when
huh?
you brought that up, yeah, because man,
Yeah.
we spent a lot of Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, all over, Hollywood, downtown
Yeah.
LA, and it was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge. It was a huge movement
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah. And my flyers, like we'll make flyers and we'll go to Melrose, and this little shop used to have like 8 turntables. It was like a DJ spot, and they sold records. And I would leave a stack of flyers on there, and we're all the way in Melrose leaving flyers, and that's me leaving flyers everywhere. But I'm just saying, to the level of dedication, I'm touching places that are your home spot.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, you know what? Right now that you say Melrose, it's funny because, I was back in the days, I was heavy into, graffiti and tagging and vandalizing and things of that
Yeah.
nature. And, I would put stuff up like on Melrose and, I'll be like, we would go out to Orange County or, somewhere out there, out of LA County, and we were running to
Yeah.
taggers and they'd be like, oh, yeah, we seen you up on Melrose. And I'm like, what? Like, really? Like, damn, that's a trip,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is a trip. I remember somebody Chaka. Everybody knows
Oh,
Chaka.
yeah, yeah. Yep, yep.
Yeah, everybody knows the world famous Chaka, but yeah, you'll be on freeways and you might not know like everybody that you're reaching because first of all it's vandalism. We don't support that on the show, but we're just reminiscing on the days. And you will see these hit ups and you will start knowing like, dang, who's Fiend? Like that fool's hit up everywhere. Or who's this or who's that, And in this little culture we got in Southern California, like sometimes you meet people that know you that don't know you because they just know your name. So Tigers was huge about getting their name known.
And,
Yeah.
right now that you mentioned Chaka, he recently made a comeback.
That's right, I love and support you, Chaka, bro. Love and support you, Chaka,
And you know what,
Yeah.
the trip that his tags look the same as back in the 90s, the exact same
Yeah.
placazos and that ultra flat black. So
I think I seen, if I'm not mistaken, I think I seen Chaka like in a cop show, a TV show, and I don't know if it was him or they were like emulating, right? But this guy will tag everywhere, and
Yeah.
if it's not him, I thought of him. And then the cops go down the alley, and when they come back, the car's all hit up right there with a big old plastic name, and I'm like, oh, this was, Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask you one more question.
Yeah,
That Tony Yayo put on here, and I'm guessing it might be a joke, because everybody was getting a good laugh out of it. And he says,
Okay.
did you ever go to Club Metro, laughing out loud?
Absolutely. Metro, Harry Seeds, Monopolies off of University. Yeah, I was all over, bro. I was all over our area. The junkyard in Norco. It's a little spot by where they sell the cars. It's 2-story, and you put the DJ system on the top and look down. Like I've been everywhere and anywhere you could think of on that party scene. It's kind of like my prison history. Like I've been through it all, and I enjoyed all of it and I loved all of it. And I remember taking generators to abandoned warehouses, and you got the sounds going, and then like the
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
helicopter, and you're like, get the sound, and fools are dragging the caves, dragging the generators. You got to put this DJ system in the back of the truck by the getaway spot, and you are out. And I loved all of it, bro. I loved all of it.
Man, so I know I was about to cut off. Let's do one more. I don't think we'll do the full 15 minutes because I'm pretty sure my wife's gonna come
Okay.
knock over here and let me know that they're ready to come into the room and fix the lights. But and then
Yeah.
and plus I need to jump in the shower. So I've been I got up kind of late today and I've been at it with this phone.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
So yeah, call me back and
Okay,
I'll
bro.
go for it.
I'll call back right now.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get through some of these comments right here that Tony Yayo is putting up, and also what I do is once we finish these conversations, I'll normally take pictures of all these comments in the chat, and I'll send them all on over to whoever I have on, whichever gentleman I have on, and they normally so they can see exactly what's being typed up and whatnot. So I think it's like a little personalized touch, when they get these messages. Sometimes depending on which officer is reviewing these messages, sometimes it might be instant, but more than normal, it takes a few days for them to approve these messages to go through, because I normally cramp in.
This call is now being
Global
recorded.
Telling, usted
Like
tiene una
9
llamada
to
prepagada de
10 messages at a time.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey,
Yeah.
Junkyard, I'm not sure if you're aware, but if you want, you can actually call in. I have a number. I have a dedicated number, and you could call in, and I know you put in a lot of comments on here. If you want to call in, the line is open. If you're interested, I could go ahead and put the number up if you don't see it on there. But he did put right now, so while we're waiting, he put laughing my ass off. The Junkyard, nah, that's the deep cut right there.
Yeah, and I DJ'd at the Junkyard, my boy, a couple of times, And on top of that, they have a little paisa club like right in front of it that I also went on a trip like in '95, like 6 months of my life. I was going to these Mexican bars too with a hat and the silk shirts and the gold chain, everything, like I was all about all this, But for 6 months of my life, I was at La Brisas in University and that little spot right there in Narco. And you know what, everybody that tuned in today and everybody that shared comments, it's lovely, because I'm talking about a real dark place in my life, and to just lighten it up with this, it was perfect, And I want to say something too, because James is like, nobody stepped in, and like how the you wild ass kid just did this, right? I knew I fell in love with the violent lifestyle in prison, right? Because I had to dissect my life. So when I first come to prison and I first get my first shoe term and it's violent and discipline is 100%, I was like, I fell in love right there with it. But now that I'm talking to you guys today, I realized that I was falling in love with it in the county jail, doing all those stupid things I was doing. Like I was doing them because I liked them. Because I like the there's no other way to say this, the power and the control. And I say that because when you take a domestic violence class, it teaches you about power and control. And we'll touch up on this subject a lot later, but when I think of prison, I don't think of domestic violence. When I think of the county jail, I don't think of domestic violence. But after taking that class, and after being enlightened on what domestic violence is, it was all domestic violence. It was no different from a husband, 6'5", to a poor little 5'2" girl, because all he wants is the power and control, and that's all I wanted in the county jail too. And you're using violence to get your way, either verbally, emotionally, mentally, physically. It just happened to be a lot more physical. But when you break it down and you strip all this shit away, that's what it is. That's what prison is, a big old pot of domestic violence, because you live with a person for years. You hit the main line, you hit a yard, you're there at least 3 years with everybody. And all the violence that happens in there, it's like your neighbor. It's like you're intimate with each other. You're the day rooms. Everything's small, and it's crime again within your own housing, living environment.
Man, I'm over here. I gotta use the restroom. I'm over here trying to, wiggle around and stuff.
Okay.
But hey, man.
Me too, my boy. Yeah, it was both of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for calling in and spending what is it? Oh, we're almost 3 hours on this one. I told you, sometimes we'll definitely get into that overtime right there, just because the questions are flowing and whatnot. But I said I haven't done it
Yeah.
yet, but I'm gonna send you like these comments and questions that everybody was dropping into the chat and whatnot. And so you can go ahead and
Okay.
see them for yourself. It'll be an extra like personalized touch, I guess you could say. But I want to
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
I want to thank you for calling in, and I want to go ahead and thank everybody for being in the chat. Tony Yayo, Lifestyles Chronicles. Let me see who else. I don't want to miss anybody. Righteous Monkey. Uh,
49er, Iceman 49er.
that's right. Angel.
Yeah.
Felipe Navarro. And definitely can't slip on SoCal or Fish Layer SoCal and Too Valid 123.
Okay. Okay, likewise. Wish you guys all a happy new year. May this year be filled with much blessings, my boys.
All right, thank you, and don't forget, share these videos with your friends. I want to ask you to subscribe, but definitely if you could go ahead and share these videos with your friends and family, and always remember, life's like a candle. Once you blow it, it's lights out. All right, I think he might have disconnected. I'm not sure. But, oh, yeah, and Eastwood, thank you for tapping in. I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream now. You guys go ahead and have a happy new year.